Chapter 2060. Spear of Rules, pierce through the great desolate wilderness. Mu Linger used all her strength to hurl out spears made from countless chains at the pair. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzz. A deafening hum echoed through the 9 heavens as one spear pierced through the 6 daos of the 3 realms and dimmed the galaxy. Wherever the 2 spears of laws passed, stars exploded one after another in a dazzling display of colors. Sensing the spears locking onto them, the pair's expressions shifted. Both gave up on attacking Yi Chenfeng to defend themselves with their dragon-patterned spears and snake-headed spears. Crack crack! The spears of rules clashed against the dragon-patterned spear and snake-headed spear, creating a series of cracking sounds. The terrifying spear of law shattered the 2 divine weapons that were even more powerful than the Void God artifact. In the next instant, Mu Linger's 2 spears exploded with the light of laws. They pierced through the dragon-patterned spear and the snake-headed spear to pierce through Hong and Huang's bodies, piercing through their defenses and stabbing through their hearts. With their hearts pierced, the pair suffered heavy injuries. They lost control of the divine power in their bodies and tore through their meridians, shattering their powerful bodies and causing their strength to plummet. Big Brother Yi, Phoenix God Hong. I'll leave Huang to you guys. Mu Linger's face turned ashen after firing the 2 spears of rules. She seemed to be drained of all strength as she transmitted weakly. All right. Yi Chenfeng and the Phoenix God each cut a chaos divine fruit. As they healed their wounds, they attacked Hong and Desolate, whose hearts had been pierced through. Boom! Yi Chenfeng punched out. His fist, which contained more than 1 trillion gene of force, collided with Desolation's fist, which was the size of a water tank. Instantly, there was an explosive force, causing cracks to appear in the chaotic void. After taking the punch head-on, Yi Chenfeng was pushed back slightly more than 10 meters before he steadied himself. Even Desolation, who had the invincible sound, was pushed back 3 steps. Huang, didn't you have a lot of fun just then? Now it's my turn to attack. Yi Chenfeng calmed down after forcing Huang back 3 steps with a single punch. He let out an arrogant howl and attacked Huang with his 2 void divine swords. They began to fight fiercely under the stars. With his heart pierced, Huang's battle prowess plummeted until he was only slightly stronger than Yi Chenfeng. Moreover, he had to keep suppressing the runaway divine power in his body. Facing Yi Chenfeng's tide-like attacks, he was forced to retreat step by step. Meanwhile, the Phoenix God and Hong were fighting fiercely as well. However, Hong was even more terrifying than Huang's physical body. Although his battle prowess had plummeted, his control over the power of rules was profound. Primordial Chaos Divine Fire. He created plenty of trouble for the Phoenix God. Primordial Chaos Divine Fire, melt. Hong ignored his injuries and forcefully flew over. When he clashed with the Phoenix God, he continuously spat out Primordial Chaos Divine Fire, forming a fire pond. He swallowed the Phoenix God in the yellow fire pond and burned the Phoenix God crazily, trying to melt it. Screech, screech, screech. After being attacked by the Primordial Chaos Divine Fire, the Phoenix God's burning Phoenix Divine Fire was instantly suppressed. The scorching energy poured into the Phoenix God's body crazily, melting her body. 8th Stage Nirvana Power. Unable to resist the Primordial Chaos Divine Fire, the Phoenix God suddenly devoured the Primordial Chaos Divine Fire that was burning her body. Then, she activated the powerful 8th Stage Nirvana Power, borrowing the power of Nirvana to be reborn. Screech, screech, screech. The Phoenix's Nirvana 9 times would make it invincible in the world, but the Phoenix God's Nirvana 8 times meant that the power contained within its body had almost reached the pinnacle of the Void God realm. The terrifying Nirvana power continuously devoured the Great Desolation Divine Flame, borrowing the enormous power of the Great Desolation Divine Flame to allow the Phoenix God to Nirvana. When the Phoenix God was undergoing Nirvana, Hong ignored his injuries and fused with the powerful Starry Sky Law. He activated the dragon-patterned spear and pierced through the phoenix god. With his heart pierced, Hong's battle strength was greatly reduced. The power of this spear could not kill the phoenix god. Screech! Then, a high-pitched phoenix cry resounded. The phoenix god used the 8th stage nirvana power to suppress the primordial chaos divine fire and was reborn. She launched a fierce counterattack against Hong, whose expression changed slightly. The 8th stage nirvana power was fully activated, greatly increasing the phoenix god's battle strength. The divine runes in the demon emperor's divine bell were also fully activated at this moment. They suppressed this part of the world, weakening Hong's control over the starry sky law and suppressing his battle strength. The phoenix god borrowed the power of 8 stages of nirvana to gradually suppress Hong. The battle between Yi Chunfeng and Huang's physical body had also reached its climax. Yi Chunfeng intentionally attacked Desolate's heart, aggravating the injury. He had no choice but to divert his attention to defend, causing his battle strength to weaken again and again. 10,000 swords returned to origin. Boundless heavenly Tao. Myriad deity tribulation. While Desolate defended himself with all his might, Yi Chunfeng used 3 supreme skills at the same time to bombard Desolate at close range. Terrifying, unparalleled power tore through Desolate's body and sent him flying. Although Desolate's battle strength was greatly reduced, his body was still terrifying. Yi Chunfeng's lethal attacks couldn't break through his powerful body for the time being. Time passed day by day. Yi Chunfeng, the phoenix god, and Hong and Desolate's battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. As time passed, Hong's injuries worsened, but Yi Chunfeng and the phoenix god still couldn't defeat him in the end. Still, after 3 days of recuperation, Mu Linger had completely merged with the starry sky. She gradually recovered from her exhaustion as large amounts of law energy poured into her body. Sensing that Mu Linger was gathering more and more energy from the floating Mu Linger, Hong and Huang immediately grew distracted. They wanted to give up on fighting Yi Chunfeng and Mu Linger so they could focus on attacking Mu Linger instead. They didn't want to give her a chance to use her Spear of Laws. Myriad deity tribulation, myriad deity tribulation. As Desolate tried to break free, Yi Chunfeng seized the chance to use the god-devouring brain's calculations and the never-before-used myriad deity tribulation. With a single strike, an invincible Tao rhythm was unleashed. The terrifying power of god slaying was unstoppable. Everything was annihilated and destroyed. Even the starry space was destroyed by this single strike. It was as if the end of the world had arrived and the heaven and earth had turned into chaos. Although Yi Chunfeng possessed the Grand Mist blood, he felt as if all the god force in his body had been sucked dry after using the god-destroying strike. He was incomparably weak, and even the powerful Grand Mist blood couldn't recover in a short period of time. No! Desolate didn't expect Yi Chunfeng to unleash such a destructive attack and instinctively tried to dodge. But the deity tribulation attack swallowed up dozens of li of space. Desolate couldn't dodge at all, so he could only defend with all his might. In the blink of an eye, he was annihilated. While Huang was annihilated by the god-slaying technique, Hong managed to break free of the phoenix god and attack the erratic Mu Linger. Hong, Desolate, do you still want to fight? Hong flew closer. Instead of dodging, Mu Linger revealed her true form. And the instant she appeared, 2 even more terrifying and massive spears of laws appeared above her head, locking onto Hong, as well as Huang, who had just barely broken through the god-vanquishing strike and was heavily injured. Do you admit defeat or not? Mu Linger revealed her domineering side as she looked at the shocked Hong and Huang. She spoke as if she was the most important person in the world. We admit defeat. Chapter 2061. Since you've admitted defeat, then shouldn't you give us the final reward from the prehistoric tomb? Mu Linger revealed a charming smile as she looked at the sullen figures of Hong and Huang. Do you want to challenge the ultimate test? Hong stared at Mu Linger and sighed softly. Is the ultimate test you're talking about the one left behind by my great-grandfather? Mu Linger asked softly. Yes, but if you accept the ultimate test and fail, then you won't get our reward. Hong nodded. You can decide for yourselves how you want to choose. All right, we'll accept the ultimate test, Mu Linger said without hesitation. Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God didn't object either, but silently supported Mu Linger's decision. After all, without Mu Linger, they wouldn't have been able to defeat Hong and Huang, much less obtain the treasure they'd been guarding for countless years. Come with us. After that, Hong and Desolation attacked at the same time. They tore a huge hole in the starry sky and brought Yi Chunfeng and the other two to a mysterious space. Supreme Sovereign, it's been almost 4 days. Why isn't the test over yet? Do they really have the strength to face off against Hong and Huang? After waiting patiently for nearly 4 days, the Supreme Shen-Tian realized that the test was still not over. He frowned and said in a low voice, Impossible. How could they pass Hong and Huang's test with their strength? Supreme Emperor Shen-Tian knew full well how terrifying Hong and Huang were. He refused to believe that Yi Chunfeng's group had the strength to pass their test. Supreme Sovereign, don't you think there's something strange about the three of them? With their strength, they shouldn't have entered this place. Supreme Shen-Tian said solemnly. Supreme Shen-Tian, you mean? There's something wrong with that white-robed girl. She might have something to do with the prehistoric tomb. Supreme Shen-Tian said in a low voice, his eyes flashing with killing intent. With the two of us guarding this place, it's useless even if they have 3 heads and 6 arms. As soon as they show themselves, this god will destroy them. Supreme Emperor Shen-Tian said viciously. Yes, the opportunity here is ours. Whoever dares to touch it will be killed without mercy. Supreme Shen-Tian nodded and said with killing intent. While the two from Supreme Shen-Tian waited patiently in the Great Desolation Palace, Yi Chunfeng and the other two entered a mysterious space. In this space, they found another sculpture. This sculpture was exactly the same as the one in the Great Desolation Palace. It was also a handsome man. Great-grandfather. Seeing the lifelike statue before her, Mu Linger immediately walked forward and knelt on the ground to kowtow 3 times. Linger, you're finally here. Although you took longer than I expected, you still did it. A deep voice sounded from the sculpture, reverberating in the mysterious space. Ling-er is slow-witted and has disappointed great-grandfather, Mu Linger said respectfully as she knelt on the ground. No, I have never been disappointed in you. Your great-grandmother's blood flows in your veins. You are destined to be extraordinary. The mysterious voice from the sculpture said, Now, are you ready? If you can pass my test, I will give you the most precious thing I left here. Great-grandfather, can I give this chance to Yi Gij? Mu Linger bit her lip as she looked at the sculpture. Linger, have you thought it through? The things I left here can't be compared to the opportunities in the Great Desolation Tomb. If you can get them, your future path will be much easier. The mysterious voice from the sculpture said with some surprise. Great-grandfather, I've thought it through. Mu Linger nodded and said without hesitation, I want to walk my own path and create a new set of rules. Linger, do you know how difficult the path you've chosen is? It's very possible that you'll end up on a path of no return. The mysterious voice reminded her sternly. Great-grandfather, Ling-er's made up my mind. I won't regret it. Mu Linger took a deep breath as she spoke resolutely. All right, since you've made up your mind, I won't try to persuade you otherwise. If you really can create new rules, your future achievements will surpass your great-grandmother and become a godly existence. The mysterious voice said gratifyingly. Junior, since Ling-er has given this chance to you, then come and challenge it. But before you do, I must warn you that if you fail, you will be killed by me. But if you succeed, you will receive the things I left here. This junior is confident that I'll succeed. Yi Chunfeng didn't waste Mu Linger's good intentions and took a deep breath as he spoke resolutely. Good. I hope didn't choose the wrong person. With that said, the mysterious sculpture shattered, and a huge chessboard appeared in the sculpture. The black and white chess pieces on the chessboard were like chess pieces burning with black and white light. This chessboard, these chess pieces. Looking at the giant chessboard before him, Yi Chunfeng suddenly felt like he was facing heaven and earth. His keen senses allowed him to sense the power of all living beings within each chess piece. With heaven and earth as the chessboard and all living beings as the chess pieces, let's play a game of chess. If you can beat me, then you've passed the test. The mysterious voice spoke from the chessboard. All right. Yi Chunfeng nodded. Then, he glanced at the endgame on the Go board and said, This junior will take the white piece first. As he spoke, Yi Chunfeng released a powerful divine power and gathered it into a white chess piece. It landed on the huge chessboard and connected to form a starlight chain. When the white piece landed, Yi Chunfeng's body trembled as large amounts of blood sprayed from his mouth. This, Linger, what's so special about this chessboard? The Phoenix God's heart clenched at the sight of Mu Linger's broken body spitting up blood. I don't know either. But great-grandfather's test isn't simple at all. Big brother Yi needs great willpower, determination, and a certain amount of luck to pass. Mu Linger shook her head. When Yi Chunfeng landed his white piece, a powerful surge of laws appeared in the air to form a black chess piece that fell from the skies into the heaven and earth chessboard. In the next moment, the starlight chain formed by the white chess pieces shattered, and Yi Chunfeng's shattered body turned into a cloud of blood mist. The Phoenix God was stunned by the sight before him. Mu Linger's heart clenched as well. After about 30 breaths of time, the thick blood mist quickly condensed and turned back into Yi Chunfeng's physical body. That's right, Yi Chunfeng might have reformed his body, but his entire body was weak and his aura was weak. Fall. Yi Chunfeng's pale face took a deep breath as he forced a second white chess piece into the heaven and earth chessboard, activating the white pieces on the chessboard. Chapter 2062. What kind of power is this? It actually shattered Yi Chunfeng's body twice. Although he had not known Yi Chunfeng for very long, the Phoenix God had truly treated Yi Chunfeng as a friend. Seeing his body explode twice, he began to worry for Yi Chunfeng. This time, Yi Chunfeng used nearly half the time it took for a stick of incense to repair his shattered body. Ignoring his injuries and weakness, he forcefully placed the third Go piece. When the third Go piece was placed, Yi Chunfeng's shattered body exploded on its own, turning into a bloody mist. After a long time, Yi Chunfeng reconstructed his body, but it was quickly shattered by the black Go piece in the starry sky, turning into a bloody mist. Time flew by, repeating the same cycle. Very soon, 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, Yi Chunfeng's body was shattered again and again, repaired again and again, shattered again and again, repaired again and again. However, as his injuries became more and more serious, the speed at which his body was repaired became slower and slower. The speed at which he condensed the white Go piece also became slower and slower. After 3 days, Yi Chunfeng faintly felt that he could not hold on any longer. However, he relied on his extraordinary willpower to hold on for nearly 100 days. This kind of willpower was greatly admired by the Phoenix God. Junior, although your willpower is commendable, you can't win against me at all. You should just give up. The mysterious voice rang in Yi Chunfeng's ears, stimulating his heart. No, I will definitely win. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and placed the 43rd Go piece. When this Go piece was placed, the heaven and earth chessboard shone with endless white light. His weakened body once again cracked, but he did not explode. All right, I'd like to see how long you can last. The black Go piece was placed, changing the situation of the heaven and earth chessboard once again. This gave Yi Chunfeng a huge impact. However, under the terrifying power of the black Go piece, Yi Qinfeng's shattered body miraculously did not explode. This caused the mysterious voice to let out a cry of surprise. While the mysterious voice was still in shock, Yi Qinfeng quickly placed the 44th Go piece. As Yi Qinfeng grasped part of the secrets of the heaven and earth chessboard, his body did not explode again. Instead, the speed at which he placed the Go piece became faster and faster, playing against the black Go piece. After an unknown period of time, the entire heaven and earth chessboard was filled with Go pieces. When Yi Qinfeng placed down his 3001st Go piece, all the white Go pieces on the Go board lit up, shattering the black Go pieces one by one. Junior, you are not bad. You have actually comprehended the Go piece of the heaven and earth chessboard to defeat me. The black chess pieces were all crushed, and the mysterious voice sounded, I'll fulfill my promise. I'll give you the opportunity one left here. I hope you won't disappoint me. With that, the heaven and earth chessboard shattered, and a reddish-gold ball of light floated in front of Yi Qinfeng. This is a ball of God's spirit. It is the God's origin that I refined after killing a god in the outerverse. I will give it to you now. However, Junior, this God's spirit contains an extremely large amount of energy. With your current strength, forcefully refining it will definitely kill you. Only when you cultivate to the pinnacle of your world will you be able to refine the God's spirit and take a step beyond your universe. The mysterious voice solemnly reminded Lu Yin. Many thanks, Senior. As he looked at the reddish-gold ball of light in front of him, Yi Qinfeng's heart was in turmoil. He had never expected that he would obtain such a rare opportunity. The energy from killing and refining the God's spirit had probably surpassed the pinnacle of his own universe. Also, you have defeated Primal and Desolation, so you can obtain these 3 treasures. With that, a slowly beating heart, a perfect and extremely powerful body, and a ball of yellow flames appeared in front of Yi Qinfeng and the other 2. Primal Desolation flames. Phoenixes were born of fire, so the phoenix god's gaze turned scorching hot at the sight of the Primal Desolation flames. If she could refine the Primal Desolation flames, she might be able to use it to complete an unprecedented 9 nirvanas. All right. Although the Primal Desolation flames were powerful, they weren't very attractive to Yi Qinfeng. He nodded and gave the Primal Desolation flames to the Phoenix God. Linger, which one do you want, the Primal Desolation heart or the Primal Desolation body? Yi Qinfeng was already very satisfied with the God's spirits. Moreover, they had defeated the Primal Desolation flames thanks to Mu Linger. I don't want either. Mu Linger shook her head. I'll give both the Yoda heart and body to you, Big Brother Yi. I think you need them more than Linger does. How can that do? You've already given me the God's spirits. I can't keep the Primal Desolation heart and the Primal Desolation body for myself. Yi Qinfeng said. Big Brother Yi, you've forgotten what I told great-grandfather. I want to walk my own path. So the Primal Desolation heart and the Primal Desolation body are useless to me. They'll only be a burden. Mu Linger had a pleasant smile as she looked at Yi Qinfeng. Big Brother Yi, this is Linger's kind intentions. Just accept it. Linger, are you leaving this place? Yi Qinfeng asked reluctantly when he caught sight of the complicated emotions in Mu Linger's eyes. I've already left home for far too long. It's time to go back. Mu Linger nodded. But Linger is still very happy. I got to know Big Brother Yi, Big Sis Phoenix, and so many good friends. Linger, can you not leave? Yi Qinfeng suddenly felt his heart grow empty. He was afraid that Mu Linger's departure would be an eternal one. Big Brother Yi, Big Sis Phoenix, if you can become gods one day, you can cross the universe to find me. And if I can walk my own path, I'll come back to this universe to find you guys. Mu Linger chuckled, but her beautiful eyes were brimming with tears. Linger, Big Brother Yi promises you that I'll definitely go to your universe to find you. Yi Qinfeng suddenly pulled Mu Linger into his arms and hugged her tightly. He was afraid that the pure and lovely Mu Linger would disappear if he let go. Big brother Yi, you're hurting me from hugging me. Mu Linger's fair cheeks flushed with an intoxicating red as she murmured. But her head was pressed tightly against Yi Chunfeng's chest as she slowly closed her eyes. Big brother Yi, big sis Phoenix, I can feel my great-grandfather's call. I'm going. Take care of yourselves, I believe we'll definitely meet again. After an unknown period of time, Mu Linger suddenly opened her eyes. Her face was red as she struggled out of Yi Chunfeng's embrace. We'll definitely meet again. Yi Chunfeng nodded and gave Mu Linger the withered divine wood of time. Although the divine wood of time had withered away, Yi Chunfeng believed that Mu Linger's great-grandfather and great-grandmother would have a way to revive it. With the power of time, Mu Linger's future path would be easier. Big brother Yi Linger will wait for you. Chapter 2063. Kacha. After Mu Linger left, a crack appeared in the mysterious space, releasing a powerful teleportation force that sent Yi Chunfeng and Mu Linger out of the space and back to the Great Desolation Palace. You're finally out. Sensing the powerful teleportation ripples, Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky, who had been guarding for a long time, opened their tightly shut eyes. Seeing Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God walk out of the spatial crack, they immediately released a powerful soul power to lock onto them. Supreme God Heaven, Supreme Emperor Heaven, let this God experience your strength today. When enemies met, their eyes turned red. Looking at Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven, the Phoenix God's eyes turned red. He wanted nothing more than to kill these two masterminds and take revenge for the dead Phoenix race. Great Circle of the Void Spirit Realm. The Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven revealed looks of surprise when they sensed the Phoenix God's strength. They were very clear that the further one cultivated, the more difficult it would become. To cultivate from the mid-void spirit realm to the great circle of the void spirit realm not only required countless years, but also great opportunities and extraordinary talent and effort. Phoenix, I don't know what kind of opportunity you've had to break through to the great circle of the void spirit realm, but you're still not our match. Supreme God Heaven's gaze grew colder and colder as a terrifying Tao intent sealed off the entire space, preventing Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God from leaving. Is that so? The Phoenix God really wanted to know the difference in strength between her and the Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven after breaking through to the great circle of the void spirit realm. She instantly ignited her Phoenix divine flames and transformed into her strongest battle form to attack the two of them. The Phoenix God attacked with blazing Phoenix divine fire, and a terrifying eye of massacre appeared on Supreme Emperor Heaven's forehead. Rays of murderous light shot out and attacked the Phoenix God. Demon Emperor's divine bell. Just as the killing light was about to hit the Phoenix God, the Demon Emperor's divine bell broke out of her body and flickered with mysterious divine light to block the attack. Next, the all-burning Phoenix divine fire spewed out of the Phoenix God's body like an angry fire dragon to attack Supreme Emperor Heaven. Supreme Emperor Heavenly Tao, Supreme Heaven Limitless. As the Phoenix God evolved again and again, the Phoenix God fire became incomparably powerful. Supreme Emperor Heaven didn't dare to let the Phoenix God fire get close to him. He immediately deduced a powerful Tao intent and formed a limitless power to forcibly block the Phoenix God fire. Space shatter. As the Phoenix God and Supreme Emperor Heaven fought intensely, Supreme Emperor Heaven's attack shattered the entire space, forming several large spatial black holes that frantically devoured the Phoenix God fire. Screech, screech, screech. The Phoenix God fire was swallowed by the spatial black hole, and its power plummeted. The Phoenix God immediately let out an angry phoenix cry, and instantly transformed into several phoenix phantoms that crashed into the spatial black hole, forcibly shattering the spatial black hole formed by Supreme Immortal Heaven. Wheel of Heavenly Tao / Supreme Shintian had not expected the Phoenix God's combat strength to increase by so much. With a thought, he summoned the Divine Sky Clan's most precious treasure, the wheel of heavenly way, which had reached the pinnacle of void god artifact. The wheel of heavenly way slashed at the phoenix god. Boom! Under the attack of the wheel of heavenly Tao, the demon emperor's divine bell, which was shining with divine runes, was sent flying. It was unable to stop the wheel of heavenly Tao at all. Nirvana force. The remaining power of the wheel of heavenly way did not diminish. The phoenix god activated its powerful nirvana force and continuously attacked the wheel of heavenly way. However, the power of the wheel of heavenly way was too terrifying. The phoenix god's continuous nirvana force was unable to withstand it. Seeing the phoenix god being struck by the wheel of heavenly way, the deity statue standing in the great desolate palace pointed a finger at the wheel of heavenly way without any warning. Ka ka ka! Amidst the cracking sounds, the wheel of heavenly way, which had reached the pinnacle of void god artifact, was sent flying by the stone finger. Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven raised their brows and looked at the deity statue. Their eyes, which were as deep as the sea, revealed a grave expression. One body with two thoughts. Interesting. When the two of them were staring at the deity statue, a deep voice came from the deity statue and reverberated in the space for a long time. As soon as the deep voice sounded, Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven's faces changed drastically. They had not expected that the seemingly lifeless deity statue would reveal their secret. I don't want to interfere with the matters of your universe. However, they have inherited everything in the Chaos Tomb. You are not allowed to harm them here. The mysterious voice said, "Now you can leave." What if we don't leave? Although the mysterious statue made the two from Supreme Divine Heaven feel apprehensive, they would not allow Yi Qinfeng and the Phoenix God to take away the great fortuitous encounter in the great desolate tomb. Don't leave? That's not up to you. With that, the mysterious stone finger pointed again. Although the finger seemed extremely slow, Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven seemed to have been petrified. They stood motionless on the spot and allowed the finger to hit their bodies. The finger broke through their physical defenses and sent them flying. Time stop. This is the third level of time rule, time stop. There were 3 levels of time rule: time acceleration, time deceleration, and time stop. Time stop was the most profound and difficult to grasp. In the entire Void God realm, no one had grasped time stop, but a deity statue had. This made Yi Qinfeng witness the terror of a deity. PFFF. Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying. They crashed heavily into the incomparably hard palace wall and suffered heavy injuries. After experiencing the terror of the deity statue, the two of them still did not give up. They looked at each other and fused the energy in their bodies together. They condensed into a stalwart figure shrouded in dark golden light and attacked the deity statue. Summoning the original form? The mysterious deity statue said, "Even if your original form is here, this deity is not afraid, let alone a mere original form." With that, the mysterious deity statue pointed again at the stalwart figure shrouded in dark golden light. The original form let out a piercing sound when the deity statue pointed at it. It mobilized all the energy in its body to resist. The original form's attack far exceeded that of Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven. Even the Wheel of Heaven path could not compare. The entire space was severely damaged. However, when it bombarded the deity statue's finger, it shattered like glass. It was unable to harm the deity statue in the slightest. With a single finger, the terrifying finger light pierced through the dark golden light like a hot knife through butter. Under the horrified gazes of the two from Supreme Divine Heaven, the finger light shattered the origin form. PFFF. PFFF. The original form was shattered. Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven both suffered from the original form's attack. A large amount of blood spurted out from their mouth. They were severely injured. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't scram, don't blame this deity for being impolite. The deity statue's voice gradually turned cold. After experiencing the terror of the deity statue, Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven did not dare to stay for long. They glared at Yi Chunfeng and Supreme Emperor Heaven unwillingly and escaped from the great desolate palace in a sorry state. All right, there are no more opportunities in the great desolate tomb. This place is about to be destroyed. Now I'll send you off. The mysterious voice said. Senior, before I leave, I want to ask you a question. Were those two people just now the same person? What is the original form? Yi Chunfeng asked. You can say that. The mysterious voice said, they are just two incarnations. The original form is their true master. Incarnation. Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven are just incarnations. Not only was Yi Chunfeng dumbfounded, but the Phoenix God was also stunned by this news. Supreme Immortal Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven were known as the strongest experts in the Void God realm. However, these two terrifying existences were actually just incarnations. Then, wouldn't their master's strength be exceedingly high? Wouldn't he be invincible? Alright, you don't have to be too surprised. In order to become a deity, many people hide their strength until the moment of the battle of gods. However, Junior, you have obtained my spirit of gods. You are destined to be extraordinary. You have already walked ahead of them on the path of battle of gods. Chapter 2064. The Beast King Ridge was one of the forbidden grounds of the Beast Tribe. It was where the ancestors of the Beast Tribe were buried. It was also where the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe was located. It was located in the deepest part of the Beast Tribe. After leaving the Thousand Demons Sea quietly, Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God arrived at the Beast King Ridge after traveling for more than 10 days. They had come all the way to the Beast King Ridge because Yi Chunfeng wanted to borrow the power of the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe to refine the primitive body and merge it with his body. He was not going to refine the powerful primitive heart. Instead, he was going to use the primitive heart to make a deal with Tai. Space-swallowing bug break the seal. When they arrived at the Beast King Ridge, Yi Chunfeng did not break the seal by force. Instead, he summoned the space-swallowing bug and asked it to dig a wormhole outside the Beast King Ridge and enter the Beast King Ridge. After breaking through to the lower empty god realm, Yi Chunfeng's ability to conceal himself had become stronger. With the help of the Mirage Blood, his appearance did not alert the Beast Tribe. Soon, he locked onto the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe with his powerful soul perception and appeared outside the ancestral land. Not bad, not bad. The ancestral land of the Beast Tribe is indeed powerful. It should be enough for me to refine the primitive body. Standing outside the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe, Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul strength penetrated the seal. He could feel that the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe was very powerful, and he smiled faintly. Space-swallowing bug break the seal. Yi Chunfeng summoned the space-swallowing bug again and asked it to dig a hole in the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe. Who are you? Why have you sneaked into the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe? Just as Yi Chunfeng entered the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe, a deep voice rang in his ears. Indeed, there is a second empty god in the Beast Tribe. Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul strength locked onto the empty god who was guarding the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe. In a flash, he flew over and tore the ancestral land of the Beast Tribe apart. He attacked the empty god who was hiding underground. 9 Gloom, devour the space. Yi Chunfeng didn't want to alarm the Beast Tribe. He didn't want to spread the news, so when he attacked, he summoned the 9 underworlds and directly devoured the entire space. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng opened up his sword territory and crushed the Beast Virtual God Almighty's demon territory effortlessly. He continued to attack him. Ao. Although the Beast Virtual God had lived for countless years and possessed a powerful demon god body, he could not withstand Yi Chunfeng's intertwined attacks and was forced to retreat. However, all Virtual God Almighties had powerful trump cards. Although Yi Chunfeng's combat strength surpassed that of a virtual god beast, he would not be able to defeat or even kill him in a short time. Phoenix God, come out and help me. Yi Chunfeng instantly suppressed the beast virtual god's attack so that he could not send a message for help. He summoned the Phoenix God. Phoenix, why are you here? The Phoenix God was known as the top expert of the beast tribe. Her appearance greatly shocked the beast virtual god, causing him to feel deeply uneasy. Humph, your beast tribe has betrayed us and joined the Celestials. It's time to settle the score with you. The Phoenix God coldly snorted. Scorching divine phoenix fire gushed out of her body and attacked the beast virtual god. Although the beast virtual god was terrifying, it could not withstand the divine fire of the Phoenix God that had undergone 8 nirvana. Under the attack of the divine fire, the 2 supreme-grade ancestral artifacts he had unleashed melted directly. His physical body was also rapidly melting under the attack of the divine fire. Chaos Dharma Idol Devour. Seeing that the virtual god beast god was being melted by the terrifying Phoenix divine fire, Yi Chunfeng summoned his chaos avatar and devoured the virtual god beast god, who was howling in pain. The chaos avatar devoured the virtual god beast god's divine power, sucking it dry and turning it into 3 chaos divine fruit. However, because of the existence of the life token, Yi Chunfeng did not kill him. Instead, he knocked him unconscious and imprisoned him in the 9 underworld. Phoenix God, let's cultivate here for a while. I don't think Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven would think that we would dare to appear here. After dealing with the beast virtual god, Yi Chunfeng suggested softly as he glanced at the Phoenix God, who was dressed in a rainbow-colored robe with divine fire all over her body. She looked as elegant as an empress. All right, after refining the great desolation divine fire, I might be able to fight against Supreme God Heaven or Supreme Emperor Heaven head-on. The Phoenix God nodded and directly broke into the depths of the ancestral beast land. She summoned the great desolation divine fire that was several times stronger than the Phoenix divine fire and swallowed it bit by bit. Borrowing the power of the ancestral beast land, she suppressed the great desolation divine fire and rapidly refined it. While the Phoenix God was refining the great desolation divine fire, Yi Chunfeng controlled the 9 underworlds to seal the entire ancestral beast land. He had the Space Swallower continue to carve a path out of the ancestral beast land. After that, he went to the depths of the ancestral beast land and summoned the great desolation body that contained the great desolation force. He continuously infused the great desolation blood into the great desolation body to nourish it and establish a connection. After 3 days of nourishment, Yi Chunfeng felt that the great desolation blood had completely penetrated the great desolation body's flesh and blood. He tried to borrow the power of the ancestral beast land to forcefully fuse with the great desolation body. However, the great desolation body did not belong to this universe. The great desolation force also surpassed the divine power in Yi Chunfeng's body. Yi Chunfeng borrowed the power of the ancestral beast land and forcefully refined it for 4 days, but he still could not refine it into his body. The sword physique is rejecting the fusion? Feeling the rejection of the great desolation body by the invincible sword physique, Yi Chunfeng's brows tightly knitted together. It seems like the invincible sword physique is inferior to the great desolation body. It is impossible to forcefully fuse the great desolation body into my body. After many fruitless attempts, Yi Chunfeng continued to think of a solution. Perhaps this is the only way. After pondering for a day, Yi Chunfeng could only think of one solution. Although it was extremely dangerous, it was the best solution Yi Chunfeng could think of at the moment. Invincible sword physique, grind the body to pieces. Yi Chunfeng controlled the 9 underworlds to seal the entire space. He then took out a large number of heavenly treasures and suspended them around his body. Following that, he continuously activated the invincible sword physique to grind his own body. A large amount of blood essence burst out and forcefully fused with the Great Desolation Body. In order to obtain the Great Desolation Body, Yi Chunfeng decided to give up on the invincible sword physique. After he had completely refined the Great Desolation Body, he would cultivate the invincible sword physique again. The process of the invincible sword physique grinding his body was extremely painful and risky. However, Yi Chunfeng's heart was as firm as a rock. He was not affected at all. He continued to fuse the exploding blood essence into the Great Desolation Body. In addition to the nourishment of the precious spiritual treasures, Yi Chunfeng managed to overcome the difficulties one after another. Boom, boom, as Yi Chunfeng's 4 limbs and body exploded and fused with the Great Desolation Body, the connection between the Great Desolation Body and Yi Chunfeng became more and more compatible. Chaos Aspect Fusion. Yi Chunfeng shattered a large number of bones and fused his internal organs, which were branded with mysterious Tao patterns, and the source of the virtual God, which was filled with powerful Tao intent, into the Great Desolation Body. Following that, he summoned the Chaos Aspect Fusion and the Heart of God and fused them into the Great Desolation Body. Soul Host Body. The physical body and the Great Desolation Body continued to fuse. Yi Chunfeng controlled all the spiritual treasures of heaven and earth to fuse with the Great Desolation Body. Following that, the God-Eater brain and soul entered the Great Desolation Body as well. He was fusing with the Great Desolation Body thoroughly. Attracted by the Great Desolation Body, the Heart of God was endlessly activated. The power of the ancestral bloodline in the Walking Beast ancestral bloodline gushed into the Great Desolation Body, increasing the speed at which Yi Chunfeng was fusing with the Great Desolation Body. Days passed by. Under the crazy devouring of the Phoenix God and the Great Desolation Body, the Walking Beast ancestral bloodline continued to wither. The immortal Qi in the spiritual mountains became thinner and thinner. This alarmed the Walking Beast clan's sovereign, the Ape God, and the other almighty figures of the Walking Beast clan. They all rushed to the ancestral land to investigate. However, the Walking Beast ancestral bloodline was shrouded by the 9 underworlds. The Ape God and the others couldn't break through the 9 underworlds and enter the ancestral land. Just as the heaven-raising divine ape and the others smelled an unusual aura and were about to ask the Tian clan for help, an unimaginable great desolate aura came out from the ancestral beast vein, suppressing the entire space, causing many of the weaker spirit demon clans to breathe rapidly, and many of the smaller spirit demons fell to the ground in fear, their faces pale. Great Desolation Domain formed, Great Desolation Body. A sonorous voice resounded in the withered Walking Beast ancestral bloodline. After devouring the majority of the Walking Beast ancestral bloodline, Yi Chunfeng had successfully fused with the Great Desolation Body. Using the powerful Great Desolation Body, he formed an even stronger Great Desolation Domain. Chapter 2065. Who are you? Why are you in my Walking Beast ancestral vein? The divine ape god sensed a dangerous aura and instantly transformed into its most powerful battle form. It held a void god rod that was several zhang long and covered with ancient divine runes. It weighed billions of jin and bared its sharp fangs. Its demonic aura soared to the heavens. What's wrong, divine ape? Don't you recognize me? After Yi Chunfeng refined the great desolate Ian body and regained his true appearance, he stood in the air, looking down at the fiend race powerhouses and the other fiend race powerhouses. Then, he revealed a tyrannical smile. It's you, the heaven-raising divine ape's eyes widened as he recognized Yi Chunfeng. Divine ape, didn't you want to kill me back then? Now I'll give you the chance. Come and kill me. After refining the great desolate physique, Yi Chunfeng wanted to use the heaven-raising divine ape, who was known for its powerful physical body, to test the terror of the great desolate physique. Seal this place. The heaven-raising divine ape didn't think about why Yi Chunfeng, who was supposed to be chased by the heaven race, would appear in the Walking Beast Emperor Ridge. However, when he thought about the treasures on him, the heaven-raising divine ape immediately ordered the other demon race experts to summon ancient array flags and seal the entire space, not giving Yi Chunfeng a chance to escape. Yi Chunfeng, I let you escape last time. This time, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings. The divine ape-raising ape let out a roar. Holding the 10 billion gene void god rod in its hand, it smashed towards Yi Chunfeng as if it was swinging a towering mountain. The heaven-raising divine ape unleashed a force of several trillion gene. Yi Chunfeng stepped into the void and didn't dodge, allowing the void god rod to come crashing down. Just as the void god rod was about to hit Yi Chunfeng's head, Yi Chunfeng suddenly raised his right hand and blocked the void god rod. Boom! The heaven-raising divine ape swung the void god rod at Yi Chunfeng's right hand. Not only did it not shatter Yi Chunfeng's arm, but he also felt an unimaginable power pass through the void god rod and into his arm, causing his arm to tremble and blood to spurt out. What kind of physical body is this? The sky-raising godly ape wielding the void god staff was enough to shatter a 10,000-meter-tall mountain. However, when it smashed into Yi Chunfeng's palm, it was unable to harm him in the slightest. This caused the sky-raising godly ape's eyes to widen as it looked at Yi Chunfeng in disbelief. Divine ape, is that all? Feeling the faint pain coming from his palm, Yi Chunfeng was very satisfied with the great desolate Ian physique. Die. The sky-raising divine ape instantly ignited his powerful bloodline and used his most terrifying berserk skill. He instantly raised his battle prowess to the extreme, creating a dazzling staff image. Holding the void god staff in his hand, he continued to attack Yi Chunfeng ferociously. Facing the staff images descending from the sky, Yi Chunfeng did not dodge. Instead, he sent out a punch. Boom! With a single punch, a force of over 5 trillion gene exploded forth. The terrifying force shattered the rod shadows that the ape god had sent down and smashed towards the ape god, whose expression changed drastically. Demonic God Altar. Sensing the terrifying power of Yi Chunfeng's punch, the heaven-raising divine ape immediately spat out a demon god altar. It was a supreme-grade ancestral artifact, and used it to block Yi Chunfeng's punch. However, the divine ape was too terrifying. The power of Yi Chunfeng's punch exceeded that of an ordinary void god artifact. It shattered the supreme-grade ancestral artifact demon god altar and sent the heaven-raising divine ape flying. The heaven-raising divine ape's body almost exploded. What are all of you still standing there for? Why aren't you working together to destroy him? The heaven-raising divine ape didn't expect Yi Chunfeng's strength to rise so quickly. Just by relying on his powerful physical body, the heaven-raising divine ape immediately ordered the demonic beasts to attack Yi Chunfeng together. Screech! Suddenly, a series of ear-piercing phoenix cries resounded. The divine phoenix general had almost devoured all the ancestral energy in the ancestral beast vein. It flapped its scarlet wings and flew over with scorching heat. Divine phoenix general. The heaven-raising divine ape didn't expect that Yi Chunfeng wasn't the only one in the beast emperor ridge. The heaven-raising divine ape immediately felt uneasy. He ordered the demonic beasts to attack as he turned around to escape. The moment the heaven-raising divine ape tried to escape, the divine phoenix fire flapped its wings vigorously and burned the heaven-raising divine ape. Although the divine phoenix general hadn't completely refined the divine phoenix fire, it had raised the power of the divine phoenix fire by 2 levels. Under the divine phoenix fire, the attacks of the demonic beasts were instantly melted. Miserable cries could be heard in the void. Heaven-raising divine ape, where do you think you're going? The phoenix god unleashed the divine fire of the phoenix and instantly melted dozens of demon clan cultivators. He stood in front of the towering sky godly ape and stared at him with a sharp gaze. Divine Phoenix General, what cultivation realm have you reached? The heaven-raising divine ape felt his heart trembling when facing the divine phoenix general. Even his divine beast bloodline was suppressed. Great void god realm. The divine phoenix general didn't hide anything and answered honestly. Great void god realm. After knowing the strength of the divine phoenix general, the heaven-raising divine ape was scared out of his wits. He stuttered, "Divine Phoenix General, it's all my fault. I was forced by the Sky Tribe. Please spare me. I won't dare to do it again." "You won't dare to do it again?" The Divine Phoenix General said coldly. "Weren't you very domineering when you led the Sky Tribe to hunt me down? Why are you afraid now?" "Divine Phoenix General, please give me another chance to live. As long as you spare me, I'm willing to submit to you. I'll submit to you forever." The heaven-raising divine ape didn't want to die. In order to live, he begged for mercy. "Sure. If you're willing to submit to me, I can spare your life." The heaven-raising divine ape was an empty god after all. If he could subdue him, it would increase Yi Qinfeng's strength. Yes, I'm willing to submit to you." The heaven-raising divine ape nodded and promised. "All right. Since you're willing to submit to me, don't resist. If you dare to resist, don't blame me for being merciless." Yi Qinfeng summoned the Soul Eater's brain as he spoke. Although the Soul Eater's brain was weak and couldn't control an empty god, if the heaven-raising divine ape was willing to submit to him and didn't resist, the Soul Eater's brain still had a chance to control him. No. Please spare me." Looking at the Soul Eater's brain in Yi Qinfeng's hand, the heaven-raising divine ape's face turned pale. He knew the consequences of being controlled by the Soul Eater's brain, and he wasn't willing to be controlled by Yi Qinfeng. "Since you're not willing to submit to me, you can go to hell." Yi Qinfeng's eyes narrowed. He immediately opened the chaotic territory and covered the heaven-raising divine ape. No. Under the attack of the Great Desolation Domain's destructive power, the ape god could only feel a few trillion kilograms of power surging towards him from all directions. His powerful physical body was constantly being torn apart. His all-out attack was unable to withstand the suppression of the Great Desolation Domain. Boom! The heaven-raising divine ape's powerful physical body was turned into a bloody mist by the chaotic territory. The heaven-raising divine ape, the monster king of the demonic tribe, was killed by the chaotic territory. Let's go. Chapter 2066. 5 days later, Yi Qinfeng and the Phoenix God arrived at the border of the monster realm, Monster Separation Ridge. "Phoenix God, I'm leaving the monster realm. Are you coming with me, or are you staying in the monster realm and slowly killing the heavenly tribes? Demon Almighty." Yi Qinfeng appeared in the deepest part of Monster Separation Ridge and looked at the Phoenix God, who was wearing a rainbow-colored robe. "I'll go with you." Although the Phoenix God's strength had skyrocketed and she had the ability to fight against Supreme Emperor Heaven or Supreme God Heaven, she had yet to completely refine the primitive fire. It was still risky for her to stay alone. Moreover, after knowing that Supreme Emperor Heaven and Supreme God Heaven were not the real masterminds, she was even more determined to team up with Yi Qinfeng. She had a feeling that in the future, Yi Qinfeng would shine brightly. She would be able to obtain unimaginable benefits if she followed him. She might even have a chance to complete the 9th Nirvana and complete the ultimate transformation. "Alright, Phoenix God, go cultivate in the Qianquan realm. I'll summon you if I need you." Yi Qinfeng also hoped that the Phoenix God would follow him. With a super expert like her protecting him, even if he faced Supreme God Heaven or Supreme Emperor Heaven, he would have a chance to escape. "Alright." The Phoenix God nodded and entered the Qianquan realm to refine the primitive fire in the 50-fold accelerated time flow. A month later, Yi Qinfeng arrived outside the Sword Territory after a long journey. He entered the Sword Territory through the wormhole created by the Space Swallower. Yi Qinfeng came to the Sword Territory to look for the ancestral sword crystal and use it to refine the invincible sword body. If he could refine the invincible sword body and merge it with the primitive fire body, his combat strength would soar to a terrifying level. While Yi Chunfeng was on his way to the sword territory, Shen Daoshu, Shen Henggu, and Shen Daoshu both broke through to mid-level Virtual God. Meanwhile, Virtual God Junlei, who had refined several Chaos Divine fruits consecutively, was only a hair's breadth away from breaking through to mid-level Virtual God. I wonder if Sword God has broken through to the Virtual God realm? After quietly arriving at the Sword region, Yi Chunfeng did not stop. He flew towards the Heavenly Sword Hall at an extremely fast speed. On the way to the Heavenly Sword Hall, Yi Chunfeng discovered that the entire Heavenly Sword domain was peaceful. There were no traces of war. He heaved a sigh of relief. After breaking through to the empty God realm, Yi Chunfeng's flying speed was extremely fast. After a few days of flying, he arrived at the foot of the Sword God Mountain. He realized that there were many talented disciples gathered at the foot of the Sword God Mountain, blocking the magnificent mountain gate. Yes, the aura of the Tian clan. When Yi Chunfeng released his powerful soul force, he unexpectedly felt the aura of the supreme expert of the Tian clan in the Sword Divine Palace, which surprised him. Why would someone from the Tian clan appear here? Could it be that the Tian clan discovered that the Sword God had betrayed them and sent experts to suppress him? Yi Chunfeng realized that several divine tribe almighties had appeared in the Heavenly Sword Hall. One of them had even reached the Virtual God realm. Several thoughts flashed through his mind as he guessed in his heart. However, he was not afraid of the betrayal of the Sword God. With the control of the Soul Devourer's brain, even if the Supreme Shintian came, he would not be able to make the Sword God betray him. Trying to figure out the purpose of the Tian clan's visit, Yi Chunfeng changed his appearance and went around the disciples who had come to acknowledge him as their master. When he arrived at the mountain gate, he saw a familiar figure and was stunned. Hey, 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 don't be noisy and don't push. If anyone is disobedient, I won't be polite to him. Xian Xia put her hands on her hips and warned angrily as she looked at the disciples who had come to the Heavenly Sword Hall to acknowledge him as their master. Hey, hey, I'm talking to you. Don't you have ears? Line up behind me. Looking at Yi Chunfeng, who had changed his appearance and did not line up, Xian Xia stared at him with her big eyes and shouted loudly. I'm not here to acknowledge you as my master. Looking at Xian Xia, who had grown taller and more lively, Yi Chunfeng revealed a faint smile. However, because of the existence of the Tian clan, Yi Chunfeng did not want to expose himself too early. In addition, Xian Xia had a big mouth, so Yi Chunfeng did not reveal his identity. If you're not here to acknowledge me as your master, then what are you doing here? Xian Xia looked at Yi Chunfeng with a face full of suspicion. She did not believe Yi Chunfeng's words at all. To meet a friend, Yi Chunfeng said with a light smile. Who could it be? Xian Xia blinked her big eyes and looked at Yi Chunfeng. She did not know why, but she felt that Yi Chunfeng's appearance was very unfamiliar, yet there was a sense of familiarity. Xian Ziwei Qin Rulan, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently. Who? Xian Xia's voice suddenly became louder, like a little wild cat whose tail had been stepped on. She looked at Yi Chunfeng with disdain and said, Another toad who wants to eat swan meat. Let me tell you, my elder sister and elder sister Rulan are both taken. Go away. Yi Chunfeng did not expect that Xian Xia's mouth would still be so poisonous after not seeing her for so many years. He was speechless. He did not argue with Xian Xia. Under the gazes of many pairs of mocking eyes, he walked to an empty corner and summoned the Space Swallower. He dug a wormhole and quietly entered the Divine Sword Peak. He wanted to find out the origin of the Heaven Race and then make a plan. And what is this? After entering the Divine Sword Peak, Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul power vaguely felt that there were thousands of extremely powerful ancient array flags hidden around the Divine Sword Peak. And among these thousands of ancient array flags, Yi Chunfeng vaguely felt the aura of the Heaven Race. It seemed that the Heaven race had already known about Sword God's betrayal, but because the Chaos Tomb had taken up too much of their energy, they had not made a move. Now that the Chaos Tomb had been destroyed, the Heaven race, who had lost a great opportunity, had started to accumulate power to deal with the Sword domain. Guessing the purpose of the Tian clan leaving behind these 1,000 ancient ancestral flags, Yi Chunfeng immediately went to the side of the ancient ancestral flags and released a powerful great desolate power, shattering the ancient array flags one by one, preventing them from activating and forming a great killing formation. "Stop, why are you here? How did you sneak in?" When Yi Chunfeng broke the last ancient array flag hidden in the mountain, a furious shout was heard. On the way back to the Heavenly Sword Hall, Xian Xia accidentally discovered Yi Chunfeng. She turned into a shadow and appeared to stop him. "Of course I walked in." Yi Chunfeng did not expect Xian Xia to be so sharp and discover him. He rubbed his nose and said helplessly. He would rather face an empty god than deal with Xian Xia, who was pestering him endlessly. I walked in." Xian Xia snorted and said, "Do you think I will believe your nonsense? There are restrictions around the Divine Sword Peak and you can walk in? I think you are obviously a spy and you have come to the Heavenly Sword Hall with a motive. Let me tell you, if you obediently tell me your purpose, I might be in a good mood and lightly beat you up. If you don't behave, I'll beat you until your butt explodes." Hearing Xian Xia call him Great Aunt again and again, Yi Chunfeng's face darkened. He was speechless. "Little girl, you are young but you talk big. If you take advantage of me again, I will beat your butt," Yi Chunfeng said with a bitter smile. "You are courting death. I will not let you off today. I will make you a eunuch." After saying that, Xian Xia's body emitted a powerful ancestral aura. She summoned an extremely sharp middle-rank ancestral sword and executed a set of mysterious sword moves to attack Yi Chunfeng. Swish! A sword pierced over and a deep sword mark appeared in the air. The sword light swallowed the boundless sword aura, and within the terrifying sword aura, there were 3 great killing intents. Facing Xian Xia's profound sword attack, Yi Chunfeng did not dodge. Instead, he extended a finger and countered it, breaking the sword attack. Before Xian Xia could react, he snatched away the mid-grade ancestral sword in her hand. Immediately after, Yi Chunfeng's 5 fingers shot out a terrifying desolation force. Like a dumpling, it directly bound Xian Xia. Just as the panic-stricken Xian Xia was about to shout for help, Yi Chunfeng raised his hand and ruthlessly slapped her in the face. Her small butt stuck out. A piercing pain instantly spread throughout Xian Xia's body. Chapter 2067. You dare to hit my butt. Xian Xia went crazy. Because Xian Ziwei was the last disciple of the Sword God, Xian Xia's identity was naturally the captain of the high seas. When had she ever been hit on the butt? Moreover, Yi Chunfeng's slap was too ruthless, causing Xian Xia to grit her teeth in pain. "What's wrong with hitting your butt? If you talk nonsense again, I'll strip you naked." Yi Chunfeng sealed Xian Xia's voice. He looked at her face, which was as red as an apple, and said indifferently, You dare." Seeing Yi Chunfeng's playful eyes, Xian Xia panicked. She braced herself and warned, "My sister is Xian Ziwei. If you dare to hurt me, my sister will pull out your tendons and skin you alive." "All right, don't use your sister to scare me. Even the Sword God can't scare me." Yi Chunfeng smiled and said indifferently, "Now I have a question. I hope you can answer me honestly. If you don't, my hand won't be honest either." As he said that, Yi Chunfeng's finger brushed across Xian Xia's delicate little face and gently pinched it. Xian Xia was so angry that she went crazy. "What do you want to ask?" Xian Xia gritted her teeth and asked. "Why did the Sky Race come to the Sword God Hall?" Yi Chunfeng asked. Who are you? How do you know about the Sky Race?" Xian Xia's eyes were wide open as she looked at Yi Chunfeng in shock. "Little Xian Xia, you talk too much nonsense. If you don't answer my question honestly, Don't blame me for being impolite, Yi Chunfeng warned coldly. How do you know my name? Could it be? Xianxia stared at Yi Chunfeng with wide eyes. After staring for a while, a figure suddenly appeared in her mind. She said in shock, You are that big bad guy. Big bad guy. Yi Chunfeng knew that Xianxia had already guessed his identity. The bitter smile on his face became even stronger. Xianxia, tell me, why did the people of the Heaven Clan come to the Heavenly Sword Hall? Yi Chunfeng's tone softened. I don't know, Xianxia said stubbornly as she looked at Yi Chunfeng with tears in her eyes. Xianxia, you should know that the celestial race coming to the Sword God Hall is definitely not a good thing. They might threaten the Sword God and your sister. If you know some secrets, you must tell me so that I can deal with them. Yi Chunfeng looked at the stubborn Xianxia and said, If you tell me, I'll give you this ancestral pellet. Humph, you think you can bribe me with an ancestor pill? You're looking down on me too much. Xianxia coldly snorted, as if she regarded money as dirt. What about the 3 high-grade ancestral pills? Yi Chunfeng took out another 3 high-grade ancestral pills. All right, since you're still sincere, I'll accept these 3 high-grade ancestral pills. Xianxia's eyes curved into crescents as she looked at the 3 high-grade ancestral pills in Yi Chunfeng's palm that were covered with mysterious ancestral pills and emitted a strong medicinal fragrance. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and untie me. Sigh, Yi Chunfeng could only sigh in the face of the pestering and moody Xianxia. He broke the seal on her body and gave her the 3 high-grade ancestral pills. Now, can you tell me why the Heaven Clan came to the Heavenly Sword Hall? Those baddies from the Heaven Clan have been here for more than a month. When they first arrived, they were very arrogant and even bullied my sister and Sister Rulin. In the end, the Heavenly Sword God appeared and fought a great battle with the Heaven Clan's empty gods. They were evenly matched and only then did they become more well-behaved. According to my sister, they came to the Heavenly Sword Hall because they wanted to sign a life contract with the Heavenly Sword God so that the Sword Territory would submit to them forever. However, the Heavenly Sword God rejected them. As for what happened after that, I don't know. Xianxia told Yi Chunfeng everything she knew. Establish a life contract. Yi Chunfeng's eyes shone with a sharp light as he said, The Heaven Clan has a good idea. Let's go. Let's go to the Heavenly Sword Hall and meet them. Baddie, what realm have you reached now? Xianxia, who had a chubby face, asked curiously as she followed Yi Chunfeng. She blinked her big eyes as she looked at him. I can kill ordinary empty gods like killing chickens, Yi Chunfeng said domineeringly. Really? I knew that brother-in-law is the most powerful. Xianxia's eyes lit up when she heard Yi Chunfeng's domineering words. She changed the way she addressed Yi Chunfeng as she kept thinking about how she could get more treasures from him. The Heavenly Sword Hall was the core hub of the Heavenly Sword Hall. It was located in the middle of the Heavenly Sword Hall. The hall was built like an unsheathed divine sword, releasing a powerful sword aura. Heavenly Sword God, our patience is limited. If you don't establish a life contract with the Heaven Clan, don't blame the Heaven Clan for destroying your sword territory. An arrogant old man in a white robe with cloud patterns drank spiritual tea as he looked at the Heavenly Sword God, who was wearing a black robe. His eyes were sharp and his body was filled with intense sword intent. Virtual God Ziguang, my sword territory has always been dependent on the Heaven Clan. Why do you still want to force me to establish a life contract? Could it be that you don't trust me that much? The Heavenly Sword God looked indifferent as he spoke slowly. No one could guess what he was thinking. Heavenly Sword God, do you really want to make us fall out with you? Virtual God Ziguang said impatiently, Let me tell you, the Supreme Elder of Pride is already on his way. When he arrives, he won't be as good-tempered as we are. It doesn't matter who comes. I won't establish a life contract with you. The Heavenly Sword God shook his head and said firmly. Jian Yi, have you really thought it through? Virtual God Zi Guang's face instantly darkened. You must know that your decision is very likely to bring disaster to the sword territory. I have. The heavenly sword god nodded. In that case, let's wait for the Supreme Elder of Pride to arrive. I hope you won't regret it then, Virtual God Zi Guang said with an ugly expression. He had lost the intention to continue negotiating with the Heavenly Clan. He was about to leave with the Heaven Clan's Almighties and wait for the Supreme Elder of Pride to arrive. Jian Yi, I've taken a fancy to your 2 female disciples. Why don't you give them to me? Perhaps when the Supreme Elder of Pride gets angry, I can help you persuade him. A 5-star Dao ancestor dressed in a luxurious robe and wearing a golden crown on his head stared at the beautiful Xian Ziwei and the slender Qin Rulan with a scorching look in his eyes. He harbored malicious intentions. He was Tian Chuanyun, one of the Divine Sky Clan's heavenly emperors. He was deeply favored by the Supreme Elder of Pride. Relying on the Supreme Elder of Pride's support, he was arrogant, domineering, and insufferably arrogant. Ziwei Rulan is already taken. The heavenly sword god shook his head and said, You can leave now. Haha, none of the women that I've taken a fancy to can escape from my grasp. Tian Chuanyun laughed loudly and looked at Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulan with a burning gaze. He said arrogantly, Jian Yi, help me take care of them. They'll be my women sooner or later. It's good to have a wish, but reality is cruel. I'm afraid that day won't come for you. Suddenly, a cold voice rang out in the Heavenly Sword main palace. Yi Chunfeng and Xian Xia appeared outside the Heavenly Sword main palace and slowly walked over. Damn it, who do you think you are? Tian Chuanyun did not expect that someone would dare to talk back to him. His body emitted a strong murderous intent as he looked at Yi Chunfeng. He's my brother-in-law. Without waiting for Yi Chunfeng to speak, Xian Xia gently raised her small head and said proudly. Chapter 2068. Little girl, don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, I will beat your ass. Yi Chunfeng felt a headache coming on, and he regretted bringing Xian Xia along. He coldly warned her. "Tsk, you two-faced guy. My sister is so beautiful. You must be overjoyed right now." Xian Xia curled her lips and said, "What are you just standing there for? Hurry up and destroy those arrogant bastards. Show my sister how strong you are. Maybe she'll be happy and agree to marry you." Silence. Yi Chunfeng couldn't bear to listen anymore. He directly controlled desolate power to seal Xian Xia's mouth, not allowing her to speak nonsense. Go, twist his dog head for me. Let him know the consequences of fighting over a woman with me. Heavenly Piercer coldly glanced at the disguised Yi Chunfeng and ordered a 4-star Ancestor Realm celestial race expert to kill Yi Chunfeng. Yes, son of heaven. A burly 4-star heavenly ancestor, who wore dark golden battle armor and had long black hair draped over his shoulders, nodded and walked toward Yi Chunfeng with heavy steps. "Brat, don't blame me if you die. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for offending someone you can't afford to offend." As he spoke, a powerful heavenly energy erupted from the 4-star ancestor's body. His muscles also swelled at this moment, shaking the space around him. A terrifying aura suppressed Xian Xia, making it difficult for her to breathe. She had no choice but to hide behind Yi Chunfeng for protection. "I should be the one saying that." Yi Chunfeng lightly raised his right hand and pressed down on the 4-star ancestor. And Yi Chunfeng's hand pressed down, and the tough space couldn't withstand it and shattered. This made the 4-star ancestor's expression change greatly. He continuously used powerful killing moves to attack with all his strength. The 4-star ancestor's attacks were earth-shattering. They could even shatter mountains and rivers. However, when they bombarded Yi Chunfeng's hand seal, they couldn't shake it in the slightest and continued to shatter. Rumble! Yi Chunfeng's hand seal smashed down, causing the entire Sword God main hall to tremble. And the 4-star celestial ancestor was smashed into the collapsed ground by Yi Chunfeng's handprint, turning him into a pile of mush. Even the immortal blood could not revive him. What terrifying power! Feeling Yi Chunfeng's hand seal, which was filled with several trillion gene of power, everyone present was deeply shocked. Tian Chuyun's complexion was incomparably ugly. Yi Chunfeng killing a 4-star heavenly ancestor with one palm was undoubtedly slapping his face in front of everyone. Master, can you recognize him? Although a figure appeared in Xian Ziwei's Sea of Soul, Yi Chunfeng's battle prowess was too terrifying. She didn't dare to think about it. She transmitted a message to the sword god, whose eyes were burning with passion. Xian Xia already called him brother-in-law. Can't you guess his identity? The sword god did not expect that Yi Chunfeng would appear at his most dangerous moment. His heart was filled with gratitude. It's him, with confirmation. Xian Ziwei's eyes immediately lit up, completely locking onto Yi Chunfeng. She couldn't move her gaze away. Who the hell are you? Void god Zi Guang's body erupted with a dazzling divine light, enveloping this part of the world. Sensing the power of Yi Chunfeng's palm, he smelled a thick aura of danger. A nobody like you is not worthy to know my identity. Although Void God Ziguang had a high status in the Divine Sky Clan and was the Grand Elder of the Divine Sky Clan, Yi Chunfeng was someone who contended for supremacy with the Supreme Divine Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky. A mere low-level Void God was not worthy of his attention. Is that so? Then this God will see what kind of ability you have. Void God Ziguang spat out a pseudo-Void God artifact spear and held it in his hand. The moment this spear appeared, an unparalleled killing power filled the entire Sword God main hall, causing the legs of many weak disciples to go soft. Some were so frightened that they fell on their butt. Master, I'm afraid that Yi Chunfeng is not a match for Void God Ziguang. Please save him at this critical moment. Although the scene of Yi Chunfeng killing a 4-star heavenly ancestor with one palm was shocking enough, Xian Ziwei knew how terrifying Void Gods were. She was afraid that Yi Chunfeng would encounter an accident, so she transmitted her voice to ask for help. Don't worry, Ziwei. Since young Master Yi dares to face a Void God, he must have something to rely on. I think that he has already grown to an unimaginable level. Although Yi Chunfeng did not reveal any aura, Sword God felt like he was looking up at a divine mountain. It was as if Yi Chunfeng had endless power in his body, enough to shake the world. Die! Void God Ziguang's sky domain gushed out of his body. He deduced the unparalleled Tao intent and merged the sky domain into the killing spear in his hand. He stabbed it at Yi Chunfeng with force, wanting to kill the arrogant and overbearing Yi Chunfeng with one spear as a warning to Sword God Hall. As the spear stabbed over, the entire space was filled with ear-piercing cracking sounds. The unparalleled killing spear was like a shooting star, piercing through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Humph, you want to hurt me with a mere pseudo-Void God artifact? Yi Chunfeng snorted coldly and blasted out a fist of flesh to meet the incoming attack. With the desolate body and the heart of God's power to the extreme, Yi Chunfeng's physical body had surpassed an ordinary Void God artifact. Not to mention a pseudo-Void God artifact, even the Divine Sword Devourer would find it hard to hurt his physical body. A fist against a pseudo-Void God artifact. Sword God's expression changed when he saw the scene in front of him. Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulan were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They did not dare to continue watching. Humph, you really don't know how to write the word death. Sky Piercer revealed a mocking smile. In his opinion, Yi Chunfeng's action was no different from courting death. In a flash, Yi Chunfeng's fist collided with the killing spear. In the next moment, a series of ear-piercing cracking sounds resounded. The killing spear that was forged from countless worldly spiritual treasures could not withstand the might of Yi Chunfeng's fist and shattered into pieces. As for the weapon spirit within the killing spear, it was crushed by Yi Chunfeng's fist that exploded with over 10 trillion gene of force. It was annihilated on the spot. After shattering the killing spear, Yi Chunfeng's momentum did not diminish. His fist landed on the shocked virtual god Zi Guang. A terrifying force directly penetrated his body, piercing a large hole in his body. He was sent flying and fell into a pool of blood. Undying blood repair? After his body was pierced by Yi Chunfeng's fist, virtual god Zi Guang fell into a deep fear. He continuously stimulated his undying blood to repair his broken body. At this time, Yi Chunfeng flew into the void and stomped his foot. With one stomp, the entire space was crushed. The terrifying power seemed to be able to trample through the underworld. The stomp landed on the broken body of void god Zi Guang, directly crushing his body, crushing his soul, and destroying his body. Strong. Too strong. After witnessing the scene of Yi Chunfeng killing virtual god Zi Guang with one punch and one kick, everyone present was stunned. Virtual gods were high and mighty existences, just like gods. However, in front of Yi Chunfeng, a god was like a child that did not know how to walk. He could kill him with a wave of his hand. This made Tian Chunyun and the others scared out of their wit. Their legs unconsciously trembled. You don't act recklessly. Virtual god arrogance will be here soon. If you kill me, virtual god arrogance will be enraged. He will definitely destroy the entire sword domain and bury you with me. Seeing Yi Chunfeng's gaze on him, Tian Chunyun's heart trembled. He immediately used his backer to threaten Yi Chunfeng. It doesn't matter who comes. All of you will die without a doubt. Yi Chunfeng said coldly and mercilessly. With one sentence, he had sentenced Tian Chunyun and the others to death. Bang! 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 As Yi Chunfeng pointed his finger, Tian Chunyun and the others exploded, turning into clouds of blood mist that drifted in the air. Chapter 2069. Young Master Yi, what rank have you reached? The sword god, who had always been calm in the face of chaos, couldn't help but gulp. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked in shock. Yi Chunfeng's strength had broken his understanding of the rank and made him tremble in fear. Low-level empty god. After killing all the empty gods, Yi Chunfeng did not hide his real identity. With a thought, he restored his real appearance. Low-level empty gods have such combat strength? Sword God knew that his attack was outstanding and his combat strength was stronger than the average low-level empty gods. However, compared to Yi Chunfeng, he felt that he was nothing. In particular, Yi Chunfeng's terrifying physical body gave him great pressure. However, Yi Chunfeng did not say much. As a smart person, Sword God did not ask much either. However, Yi Chunfeng's strength had deeply shocked him and he was convinced. Sister, brother-in-law bullied me. At that moment, Xian Xia, who was in pain, broke the seal that Yi Chunfeng had placed on her. She ran to Xian Ziwei, who was blushing, with tears in her eyes. She shook her arm gently and complained pitifully. Xiaer, don't talk nonsense. There's nothing going on between Mr. Yi and I. Xian Ziwei's cold demeanor was gone. She glanced at Yi Chunfeng with her cheeks flushed red and pretended to be angry. Ziwei, Rulin, both of you have great talents. Especially Ziwei, you're unparalleled. That's why I asked Sword God to take both of you as his disciples. Although Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulin were both 1 in a million beauties, and Xian Ziwei was even prettier than Xia Wendi, Yi Chunfeng's heart was already filled with other women. He didn't want to have anything to do with them. Here, these 2 swords are for both of you. I hope that you can use these 2 swords to defend the sword territory. With that, Yi Chunfeng took out the 2 supreme-grade ancestral swords that he had obtained from killing the empty gods and gave them to Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulin. This is a top-grade ancestral artifact. Feeling the divine might exuding from the ancestral sword and caressing its mysterious and beautiful ancestral runes, the 2 girls were overjoyed. However, Yi Chunfeng's words just now had shattered the last bit of hope in their hearts, letting them know that they were not people of the same world as Yi Chunfeng. Thank you, young Master Yi, for bestowing this sword. Ziwei, Rulin, will definitely use this sword to defend the Sword Realm. Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulan said in unison. Sword God, this divine sword originally belonged to you. Now, I will return it to its rightful owner and give it to you. Yi Chunfeng summoned the divine sword devourer and gave it to the excited sword god. Thank you, young Master Yi. After receiving the divine sword devourer, the sword god was so excited that he could not speak. With the divine sword devourer, his attack power was completely capable of killing void god almighties. By the way, sword god, do you still have the ancestral sword crystal on you? Yi Chunfeng's main objective in coming to the sword domain was to obtain the ancestral sword crystal. No, I have already refined all the ancestral sword crystals. The sword god shook his head. Then, do you know where I can find the ancestral sword crystals? Yi Chunfeng frowned slightly. If the sword domain still has the ancestral sword crystal, then it can only be found in the underground sword tomb. However, the underground sword tomb is extremely strange. Even when I was a half-step void god, I could not enter it. The sword god pondered for a moment and said, All right, tell me the location of the underground sword tomb. After solving the problem in the sword domain, I will make a trip there. Knowing that the sword domain might still have the ancestral sword crystal, Yi Chunfeng was secretly delighted. In the future, the battle of gods would be extremely dangerous. Yi Chunfeng had to think of ways to raise his strength to the extreme. Only then would he be able to laugh at the heroes on the battle of gods. Young Master Yi, according to Tian Chuanyun, empty god Aoe is very terrifying. He has reached the late empty god realm. Why don't we avoid him and give up on the heavenly sword hall? When we are strong enough in the future, we can take back everything that belongs to us. Yi Chunfeng's combat strength was terrifying enough. However, empty god Aoe was a late empty god. The sword god was afraid that Yi Chunfeng would not be able to defeat him, and said tactfully, He is just a late empty god. If he dares to come, I will beat him up. Although there was a huge difference in strength between the empty god realm, Yi Chunfeng had the chaos body that Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven did not have. He had the primordial blood, the chaos dharma, and the god's heart that could not be activated. He could defeat a late empty god realm almighty. Moreover, Yi Chunfeng had the phoenix god and the demon god behind him. Even if Supreme God Heaven or Supreme Emperor Heaven came, he, the phoenix god, and the demon god could fight them together. Sword God, Ziwei, Ruolan, Sky Sword Sovereign, Mystic Sword Sovereign, follow me. The Heavenly Sword Hall was the most powerful force that Yi Chunfeng controlled. Yi Chunfeng had to increase the abilities of the Sword God and the rest as much as possible in order to increase his foundation. Brother-in-law, I am here too. Don't forget about me. The smart Xian Xia had guessed Yi Chunfeng's intention of calling the Sword God and the rest away. She shouted at the top of her lungs. All right, you come too. Yi Chunfeng shook his head and called Xian Xia, who had a loose tongue, to his side. They went to the courtyard where the Sword God cultivated. He took out a large number of precious treasures that he had plundered over the years and gave them to the Sword God and the rest. Young Master Yi, what fruit is this? The Sword God and the rest widened their eyes and asked in shock. They felt that the 3 chaos divine fruits that Yi Chunfeng had given them contained a mysterious rule power. This is a chaos divine fruit. It is a fruit formed from the chaos divine wood. Yi Chunfeng explained softly. Brother-in-law, you are too good. I love you to death. Why don't you take me as well? Looking at the treasures that Yi Chunfeng had given her, Xian Xia's big eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. She was wild with joy. Yi Chunfeng's arrival swept away the haze in the Heavenly Sword Hall. The Sword God and the rest received the treasures that Yi Chunfeng had given them and immediately went into seclusion to cultivate. Yi Chunfeng didn't hide anything either. He shared what he had gained over the years with the Sword God. Through his interactions with the Sword God, he had also benefited greatly. Aside from interacting with the sword god in his free time, Yi Chunfeng also frequently guided Xian Ziwei, Xian Xia, and Qin Rulan in their cultivation. Under Yi Chunfeng's guidance, the three women's understanding of the sword principle continued to improve. Xian Ziwei, in particular, even showed signs of breaking through to become a 4-star Dao ancestor. The heavenly sword hall was peaceful for about 13 days. Then, a terrifying aura swept over like a tornado and enveloped the entire heavenly sword hall. It alarmed Yi Chunfeng and the rest, who were cultivating in seclusion. An incomparably huge warship with the heavenly battle flag flew in the most tyrannical manner. It shattered the restriction outside the Divine Sword Peak and flew to the sky above the Divine Sword Peak. They are finally here. Sensing the aura of the Divine Clan, Yi Chunfeng and the rest immediately came out of seclusion. They came to the sky above the Divine Sword Peak and confronted the huge warship. Jian Yi, how dare you kill my Divine Sky Clan's virtual god, the Emperor of the Divine Sky Clan? Today, I will destroy your heavenly sword hall and use your blood as a sacrifice to my clan. A domineering and arrogant faux god wearing a scarlet gold dragon robe with a dragon head belt around his waist and a cloud crown on his head appeared at the bow of the warship. He looked coldly at the sword god and spoke in a thick voice. As he spoke, 3 terrifying auras gushed out from the warship. Although these 3 auras weren't as strong as the virtual god, they had all reached the mid-level virtual god realm. The terrifying auras surged over, oppressing Yi Chunfeng. Other than the sword god, everyone else had difficulty breathing and felt extremely uncomfortable. You want to shake the heavenly sword hall with just 4 virtual gods? What a fool's dream! Yi Chunfeng snorted. The 5 virtual gods, Evil God, Divine Dao Su, Divine Eternity, Death God and War Demon, appeared beside Yi Chunfeng and instantly shattered the terrifying auras and pressure released by the 3 virtual gods of the Divine Clan. Chapter 2070. Who are you? Looking at the disguised Evil God and the other virtual gods, Virtual God Arrogance and the rest of the virtual gods had a solemn expression on their faces. Their arrogance had diminished a little, especially Evil God. Virtual God Arrogance and the rest of the virtual gods could sense a strong sense of danger. They did not dare underestimate him. Sword God, Xian Ziwei and the rest were even more shocked. The appearance of Evil God, God Dao Su, and the other empty gods had shocked everyone. Stop talking nonsense. Yi Chunfeng replied coldly, seal the void and don't let any of them escape. Alright. Evil God and the other 4 said in unison and summoned their respective treasures. 4 empty god artifacts, sensing that Evil God's 100 evil weapons, Shun Daoshu's ancient bronze sword, Shun Hengu's void god staff, and War Demon's black gold chain had all reached the void god tier. Empty God Aoe and the others felt a great wave of uneasiness. Break! Evil God, God Dao Su, and the other empty gods stood in 5 different directions and sealed the entire space. They activated their empty god artifacts and supreme ancestral artifacts and attacked the Sky Tribe's warship from 5 different directions. The 5 of them attacked at the same time. The 4 void god artifacts soared through the sky and the death scythe slashed through the void. For a moment, the galaxy lost its luster and the sun and moon lost their luster. The tyrannical attacks destroyed the entire space, shattering the restrictions on the heavenly race's battleship. The several hundred zhang-long battleship was smashed into smithereens. Leave empty god Aoe to me. I'll leave the rest to you. And this quickly. Yi Chunfeng wanted to test his combat strength against empty god Aoe. He shouted and summoned the immortal wings and rushed over at lightning speed. You're courting death. Although empty god Aoe was shocked by Yi Chunfeng's strength, he did not take him seriously. Looking at Yi Chunfeng approaching him at lightning speed, intense killing intent shot out from his eyes. He controlled the powerful space rules and formed a black hole to devour Yi Chunfeng. Hong Meng blood burn. Yi Chunfeng quickly burned his primordial blood and merged with the heart of God to increase his battle prowess. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chunfeng's combat strength soared to mid-level virtual God, while his physical strength, under the primordial blood's amplification, reached a terrifying 30 trillion kilograms of strength. With one punch, the black hole that was devouring everything was directly blown up. The terrifying power collapsed the space and crushed the virtual god AoE, whose expression had changed greatly. How is this possible? How could he possess such power? Witnessing Yi Chunfeng shatter the black hole with a single punch, virtual god Arrogance's heart was in turmoil. The way he looked at Yi Chunfeng had also changed drastically. It could be said that Yi Chunfeng's physical strength was beyond his understanding. It shocked him and made him feel uneasy. 3,000 Transformation God Punch. While virtual god Arrogance was still in shock, the 4 ancestral Dao maps gushed out of Yi Chunfeng's body. He deduced the 4 ancestral Dao meanings to the extreme and merged them with the power to destroy the universe. In an instant, 3,000 destructive fists were blasted out. It was like a meteor shower that pierced through the sky and attacked virtual god Arrogance. Zhang Tian God Ruler. At the critical moment, virtual god Arrogance summoned the Zhang Tian God Ruler. He controlled the God Ruler to grow bigger and hit the 3,000 transformation God punches that were coming at him like a meteor shower. The Zhang Tian God Ruler was refined from 3 divine rock. It was extremely tough, surpassing an ordinary virtual god weapon. However, when it hit the 3,000 transformation god punches, it was shaken violently by the destructive fist. It could not break through the 3,000 transformation god punches attack at all. As the Zhang Tian God Ruler and the 3,000 transformation god punches clashed fiercely, Yi Chunfeng stomped the entire space and rushed into the destructive storm. He swung his fist and smashed it. Boom! A loud sound like a bell rang in the void. Yi Chunfeng's power of more than 3 trillion pounds slammed into the Zhang Tian God Ruler. The power that was enough to crush virtual gods directly sent the shining Zhang Tian God Ruler flying. Where did this guy come from? Virtual god Arrogance had lived for countless years and had seen too many amazing people. However, he had never seen a physical body as invincible as Yi Chunfeng's. After sending the Zhang Tian God Ruler flying with one punch, Yi Chunfeng appeared in front of virtual god Arrogance as if he had teleported. He continued to unleash destructive power to attack virtual god Arrogance. Although virtual god Arrogance's combat strength was equally terrifying and he had many unknown trump cards, he could not withstand Yi Chunfeng's waves of attacks at all. He was instantly suppressed by Yi Chunfeng's fierce attacks and was forced to retreat. Yi Chunfeng completely suppressed virtual god Arrogance, who was the strongest among them. Evil God, Sword God, and the rest began to kill crazily. The 3 mid-level virtual gods and many heavenly ancestors of the Celestials could not withstand their attacks at all. The heavenly ancestors were constantly killed by Evil God, Sword God, and the rest. They turned into clouds of blood mist that floated in the air. Don't fight. Let's get out of here quickly. Hearing the screams that echoed in his ears, virtual god Arrogance, whose attacks were suppressed, immediately wanted to retreat. He sent a voice transmission to the 3 mid-level virtual gods who were covered in blood and fighting fiercely. He wanted to break out and escape. You want to run? It's not that easy. Yi Chunfeng captured virtual god Arrogance's thoughts and summoned the evil Slaughter Thousand Streams. He controlled the evil Slaughter Thousand Streams to turn it into a flowing river of death that was hundreds of feet long. He sealed the entire space and blocked virtual god Arrogance and the rest's escape route. External Incarnation. With his escape route blocked, virtual god Arrogance immediately summoned the external incarnation refined by Supreme Shintian. He wanted to use the external incarnation to block Yi Chunfeng's attack and create an opportunity for himself to escape. You want to stop me with your external incarnation? Yi Chunfeng scoffed. He ignored the destructive attack launched by the external incarnation and charged directly. Ka ka ka. Beams of divine light that were close to the void god artifact bombarded Yi Chunfeng's body, but they couldn't do anything to him at all. Yi Chunfeng smashed through them in his most powerful manner and turned them into nothingness. Desolate domain break. As he approached Supreme Shintian's external incarnation, Yi Chunfeng immediately opened up his chaos territory and covered the entire area. Kacha kacha. Crack, crack, crack. Supreme Shintian's powerful external incarnation continued to crack under the pressure of the chaos territory that was close to 2.5 trillion pounds of force. Eventually, it exploded in the chaos territory. Heavenly territory. Witnessing Yi Chunfeng crushing Supreme Shintian's external incarnation in an instant, virtual god Arrogance's expression changed drastically. He immediately opened up his powerful heavenly territory to block the bombardment of the chaos territory. Although the heavenly territory was the highest territory in the virtual god realm and contained the mystery of the heavenly way, it could not withstand the attack of the chaos territory. As the two territories collided, the heavenly territory was instantly shattered. Virtual god Arrogance, who could not dodge in time, was swallowed by the chaos territory. Skyscraping god ruler break. Facing the gravitational pressure of the chaos territory, virtual god Arrogance could not withstand it even with his strength. The divine armor that appeared on the surface of his body kept shattering, and a large amount of blood was spurting out continuously. He kept spitting his blood essence into the skyscraping god ruler to activate the skyscraping god ruler's attack. He bombarded the chaos territory in an attempt to shatter it. When virtual god Arrogance controlled the skyscraping god ruler to attack the chaos territory with all his might, Yi Chunfeng suddenly appeared beside him. He waved his iron-like fists and kept attacking his body. Under Yi Chunfeng's all-out attack, virtual god Arrogance's body was getting more and more injured. The skyscraping god ruler that was attacking with all its might was suppressed by the chaos territory. Life burn. With his life hanging by a thread, virtual god Arrogance burned his powerful life force regardless of the consequences. He used the life force to make a last stand. However, even if he gave it his all, he could not shake Yi Chunfeng's chaos body. Virtual God Sword Soul Slash. When Yi Chunfeng performed the 3000 God transforming fist and sent virtual God Arrogance flying, the virtual God Sword Soul flew out of his sea of soul. It turned into a 5-colored sword shadow in midair and slashed virtual God Arrogance's body open. In the next moment, the Chaos Dharma flew out of Yi Chunfeng's body and turned into a towering Chaos Divine Wood. It suppressed virtual god Arrogance, who had activated his immortal bloodline and was trying his best to repair his body. It started to devour him crazily. No, no, as virtual god Arrogance screamed in horror, the Chaos Divine Wood sucked him dry and condensed 6 extraordinarily powerful Chaos Divine fruits. After killing virtual god Arrogance, Yi Chunfeng withdrew the chaos territory and looked at the void in the distance. At this time, only one of the 3 mid-level virtual gods of the heavenly tribe was left. The other 2 were killed by the demon god, the sword god, and the war spirit. Die. Chapter 2071. Death God, this Zhang Tian God ruler is for you. Yi Chunfeng took away empty god Aoyi's belongings and gave the Zhang Tian God ruler to Death God, who did not have an empty god weapon. Let's go back. Yi Chunfeng, Sword God and the rest divided the divine tribe's belongings and returned to Sword God's main palace. Brother-in-law is invincible. Brother-in-law, you're the best. Xianxia's beautiful eyes were filled with admiration as she watched Yi Chunfeng defeat empty god Aoi. She said excitedly, "Hey, this is for you." Yi Chunfeng knew that no matter how much he explained, he would not be able to convince Xianxia to change the way she addressed him. Hence, he gave her an exquisite amulet. "Thank you, brother-in-law." Xianxia said happily. Here, these 6 chaos divine fruits are for you. Yi Chunfeng plucked the 6 chaos divine fruits from the primal chaos divine tree and gave them to Sword God, Evil God, and the others. He also gave Xian Ziwei and the others a chaos divine fruit that did not contain any territory intent, so that they could strengthen their cultivation foundations. Now that empty god Aoe has been killed, I think the divine tribe will not take the initiative to attack Sword Realm. Let's rest for a while and go to the underground Sword Tomb in 3 days. Although the Sky Tribe would be infuriated if the Void God clan was destroyed, in the eyes of Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven, the opportunity in the Desolation Tomb was more important. As long as Yi Chunfeng did not expose his identity, Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven would not put all their efforts into the sword domain. As long as Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven did not appear, Yi Chunfeng and Phoenix God's strength were enough to control the situation. The underground Sword Tomb was a forbidden zone in Sword Realm. It was located in the depths of Cloud Sword Mountain in the west of Sword Realm. No one knew how the underground Sword Tomb was formed. However, as there were no empty gods in Sword Realm, no one had explored the secret of the underground Sword Tomb. No one knew what kind of opportunity was hidden inside. We're here. The entrance to the underground Sword Tomb is right in front. After several days of flying, Yi Chunfeng and company arrived at the depths of Cloudsword Mountain. They saw an incomparably huge and bottomless pit. This pit was the entrance to the underground Sword Tomb. Other than Yi Chunfeng, Sword God, and the others, Yi Chunfeng also brought along Xian Ziwei, Qin Rulan, Xianxia, and the other girls. His goal was to train them, increase their combat experience, and strengthen their cultivation foundation. Come, let's go down. The 3 most mysterious ancient tombs in the universe were unable to stop Yi Chunfeng. A mere underground sword tomb posed no threat to Yi Chunfeng. He took the lead and led Sword God and the others into the bottomless pit. They flew at an extremely fast speed to the bottom of the pit. Very soon, Yi Chunfeng and the others arrived at the bottom of the sword tomb. They discovered that there was a boundless space there. A thick sword intent and deathly aura emanated from the depths of the space, making Xian Ziwei and the others tremble for some reason. Ziwei, I'll leave the danger outside the tomb to you all. Yi Chunfeng withdrew his profound gaze and looked at the group of peerless beauties. Okay. Xian Ziwei and the others nodded. They held their ancestral swords and walked in front of Yi Chunfeng's group. They quickly flew into the pitch-black space. Along the way, Xian Ziwei and the others encountered many restrictions and many demonic beasts that lived in the darkness. However, be it spatial restrictions or demonic beasts in the darkness, they were unable to stop Xian Ziwei and the others. They were like a hot knife through butter as they killed their way deeper into the underground sword tomb. Screech, screech, screech. After flying for a while, the group arrived at a space filled with broken swords and broken handles. It was filled with a thick, deathly aura. A series of hair-raising, ghostly cries could be heard. Young Master Yi, this is the underground sword catacomb. The space in front of us is guarded by an incomparably huge stone sword. Back then, I was injured by that stone sword and was unable to enter the depths of the sword catacomb. Sword God, who had been to the underground sword catacomb more than once, whispered. Ziwei, Rulan, Xianxia, you all train here. Be careful. The God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, felt a mysterious power in the depths of the tomb. This mysterious power was so strong that even Yi Chunfeng was slightly surprised. He didn't bring Xian Ziwei and the others further in. Instead, he left them at the periphery of the tomb. Xian Ziwei nodded and whispered, You all be careful too. Let's go. Yi Chunfeng and his group did not stop at all. They flew towards the deepest part of the underground sword catacomb at an extremely fast speed. The ghosts and broken sword spirits that constantly emerged from the sword catacomb were unable to cause any harm to them. They were all killed with a wave of their hand. Such a powerful sword aura. As they flew, Yi Chunfeng suddenly noticed traces of light in front of them. A stone sword that was dozens of feet tall and carved with dragon-like patterns was inserted into the ground, blocking their path. Young Master Yi, be careful. This stone sword is very strange. Its explosive attack is comparable to a void god artifact. Sword God reminded Yi Chunfeng when he saw the stone sword that had defeated him numerous times. And all of you back off. I will go and test this stone sword. Yi Chunfeng nodded. With heavy steps, he walked towards the gigantic stone sword that was several tens of feet tall. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Sensing Yi Chunfeng's approach, the stone sword started to tremble. Unparalleled sword aura was nurtured within the stone sword and locked onto Yi Chunfeng, who was getting closer. When Yi Chunfeng was about 100 meters away from the stone sword, a refined sword light shot out from the stone sword. With an unparalleled momentum, it slashed towards Yi Chunfeng. When the stone sword's unparalleled sword aura slashed over, Yi Chunfeng immediately ignited his grand mist blood and raised his physical strength to the extreme. He stomped on the hard ground and blasted out a punch that could shatter the void, shattering the unparalleled sword aura. So powerful! Sword God's eyes shrunk as he muttered in his heart in shock. What kind of opportunity did young Master Yi have to refine his physical body to such an extent? After shattering the unparalleled sword aura with a single punch, Yi Chunfeng didn't slow down. He continued to walk towards the stone sword at an even pace. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Sensing Yi Chunfeng's threat, the stone sword trembled even more violently. It constantly split into unparalleled sword light and attacked Yi Chunfeng. It wanted to kill Yi Chunfeng, who was approaching without permission. However, Yi Chunfeng, who possessed the great desolate body, was too terrifying. Not only could the unparalleled sword light from the stone sword not harm Yi Chunfeng, but it also couldn't stop him from moving forward. Soon, Yi Chunfeng arrived under the stone sword. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng activated the great desolate body limitlessly. His entire body grew bigger and turned into a great desolate giant. He waved his water tank-sized fist and smashed it towards the stone sword. Boom! Yi Chunfeng's fist collided with the stone sword. Instantly, a shocking force erupted. The terrifying force constantly neutralized the sword aura nurtured by the stone sword, preventing it from attacking him. Rise for me! Yi Chunfeng leaped high into the air and tightly gripped the hilt of the huge stone sword with both hands. His arms burst forth with a strength of more than 3 trillion kilograms as he forcibly pulled out the huge stone sword that was stuck deep into the ground. Buzz, buzz. The moment the stone sword was pulled out by Yi Chunfeng, it exploded with an unparalleled sword aura. It shattered the space within a 1-mile radius and shook off Yi Chunfeng's hands. It intertwined with chain-like Dao intent and slashed towards Yi Chunfeng with a force that could split heaven and earth. Chapter 2072. 10,000 Deities Tribulation. The gigantic stone sword, which looked like a mountain of swords, came slashing down with boundless Dao will. Yi Chunfeng immediately pushed his ancestral Dao will to the extreme and blasted out a doomsday-like myriad god tribulation to meet the attack. Rumble! The two destructive forces collided, and the power of the 10,000 god tribulation instantly erupted, shattering the attack of the giant stone sword like it was nothing, and cracks began to appear on the incomparably tough sword. Break! After the first attack, Yi Chunfeng blasted out the 3,000 transformation god fist. It landed on the giant stone sword that was full of cracks. The shocking attack shattered the stone sword that had guarded the sword tomb for countless years. 5-colored sword soul. After shattering the stone sword, Yi Chunfeng realized that there was a 5-colored sword soul in the stone sword. Although the sword soul was not as powerful as Yi Chunfeng's void god sword soul, it was not far from it. Primitive hand, suppress. Without waiting for the 5-colored sword spirit to escape, Yi Chunfeng's right hand produced a powerful will of the way. It swallowed and spat out the light of the sun and the moon as it violently pressed down. It directly suppressed the heavily injured five-colored sword spirit in the sword mound that was full of cracks. Sword God, come over quickly and subdue this five-colored sword soul. Yi Qianfeng's void god sword soul had almost transformed to the extreme. It only needed to be nourished and strengthened slowly. There was no need to continue devouring it. He gave the precious five-colored sword soul to Sword God. Yes. Sword God knew how powerful the five-colored sword soul was. If he could subdue the five-colored sword soul and use it for himself, his combat strength would increase by several times. The Sword God's understanding of the Sword Tao had also reached an extremely terrifying level. Under his full suppression, the heavily injured five-colored sword soul's resistance became weaker and weaker. In the end, it was subdued by the Sword God and absorbed into his sea of soul to be refined. Thank you, young Master Yi, for giving me this opportunity. Sword God expressed his gratitude from the bottom of his heart. As long as you serve me wholeheartedly, I guarantee that in the future, you will be able to obtain even more precious fortuitous encounters than the five-colored sword soul. Yi Qianfeng promised in a low voice as he looked at the Sword God, who was convinced and willing to submit. Yes. Sword God knelt on one knee to show his sincerity. Alright, get up. Let's continue forward and see what other opportunities there are in the depths of the Sword Tomb. Yi Qianfeng's real goal was the ancestral sword crystal. Only by finding the ancestral sword crystal could he cultivate the invincible sword body and increase his strength. As Sword God's Sword God, Sword did not need Yi Qianfeng to attack. He did not even need Yi Qianfeng to attack. Sword God had sword. Very quickly, Yi Qianfeng and the others arrived at the deepest part of the sword catacomb. They saw an old man in a dark gray robe. His body was shriveled, and his eyes were hollow as if he had been dead for a long time. Behind him, there was a black crystal the size of a fist. Yi Qianfeng could vaguely feel the aura of the spirit of the divine sword from this black crystal. This is the divine sword crystal, the world's highest grade sword crystal. Looking at the black crystal that was nurturing a powerful sword aura, Sword God's heart was in turmoil as he spoke in shock. Divine sword crystal. Yi Qianfeng's eyes lit up when he heard what Sword God said. If he used the divine sword crystal to cultivate the invincible sword body, he could not imagine how terrifying the power and potential of the invincible sword body would be. No matter what, I have to get my hands on the divine sword crystal. Yi Qianfeng made up his mind. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as Yi Qianfeng and the others approached the divine sword crystal and wanted to take it away, suddenly, strands of terrifying Tao insight surged over from all directions. It wildly fused into the withered old man's body and awakened the vitality within him. In the blink of an eye, the withered old man's body became fuller and fuller. His empty eyes were filled with vigor. A suffocating power emanated from his rapidly recovering body. Middle-level empty God Almighty. Yi Qianfeng was sure that the withered old man was a middle-level empty God Almighty when he sensed the aura from the withered old man. This is not a place where you can come. You can either get lost now or die. The withered old man's eyes were as deep as the sea. He looked at Yi Qianfeng and Sword God Almighty with murderous intent. All of you back off. I'll fight him. Yi Qianfeng intended to temper the great desolate physique through battle, allowing the great desolate physique to become more compatible with him. So he walked over alone. Die. Seeing that Yi Qianfeng did not listen to his advice and approached him without permission, the withered old man who was sitting on the ground unleashed an unparalleled sword gleam. The sword gleam tore through space like a rainbow and slashed at Yi Qianfeng. Yi Qianfeng did not try to dodge the long sword ray. Instead, he allowed the sword ray to hit his body. Seeing that his sword gleam was shattered by Yi Qianfeng's powerful body, the withered old man's snow-white eyebrows twitched. He was shocked. Interesting. I have never seen a human with such a powerful body. Although Yi Chunfeng's physical body was invincible, the skinny old man did not show any fear. His deep eyes burned with fighting spirit as he let out an earth-shattering roar, "Sword, come, Kacha Kacha!" Sensing the withered old man's call, the entire ground shook. A heavy stone sword broke through the ground and flew to the withered old man. When the withered old man grabbed the stone sword, an unparalleled sword intent spread out from his old body. The sword intent was so strong that Sword God and the rest could not help but take 3 steps back. Universal Origin Sword. Sensing that the stone sword in the old man's hand had reached the level of Void God weapon, Yi Chunfeng immediately summoned the Universal Origin Sword and Void God Sword Soul to counter the attack. Universal Origin Sword. Why is the Universal Origin Sword of the God tribe in your hand? Looking at the Universal Origin Sword in Yi Chunfeng's hand that was spitting out Universal Origin Qi, the withered old man recognized the origin of the sword and was surprised. "I'll tell you when you defeat me." Yi Chunfeng controlled the Void God Sword Soul and fused it into the Universal Origin Sword, awakening Mo. He activated all the divine patterns in the Universal Origin Sword and interweaved a 10,000-meter-long sword shadow to attack the shriveled elder. Bang! The 2 Void God swords clashed and the explosive force tore the underground sword mound apart, causing the ground to tremble. After the first clash, Yi Chunfeng and the withered old man changed their moves at the same time. They constantly deduced the abstruse sword Dao and used unpredictable sword moves to attack each other. In an instant, the underground sword mound was filled with sharp sword shadows. They clashed intensely in the void and created glaring sparks. "Haha, I didn't expect I to meet an expert in sword Dao before I die. The heavens are really good to me." The withered old man laughed and ignored the threat of the Universal Origin Sword. He became one with the sword and used his body to control the sword as he engaged in an intense battle with Yi Chunfeng. On the other hand, Yi Chunfeng didn't show any weakness. He didn't use any killing moves and only used his understanding of sword Dao to counter the withered old man's attacks. Time passed by slowly. Yi Chunfeng and the withered old man were like machines that didn't know exhaustion. They constantly deduced powerful sword moves and attacked each other with all their might. Soon, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, Yi Chunfeng, who had the primitive body and the primordial blood, had the absolute advantage. He fought more and more valiantly without any signs of exhaustion. On the other hand, the withered old man's injuries were getting more and more serious. He was gradually suppressed by Yi Chunfeng and was forced to retreat. Seeing that the withered old man was about to lose, abstruse light talismans suddenly appeared on his old body. They were like tornadoes as they revolved around his body. "Junior, I is going to use my final move. Be careful." The withered old man reminded and controlled the abstruse light talismans to fuse with the power of the entire underground sword mound. Suddenly, streaks of sword light surged from all directions and fused into the light talismans, activating them one by one. Fuse. Chapter 2074. Human Sovereign. Hearing the skinny old man's words, Yi Chunfeng's deep eyes shone with a sharp light. If the human sovereign hadn't wantonly killed the almighty experts of the human race, the status of the human race wouldn't be as low as it was today. "Senior, please rest in peace. I promise you that I will make that human sovereign pay a painful price and crush his ambition." Yi Chunfeng bowed deeply 3 times at the skinny old man's corpse and promised softly. As soon as he finished speaking, he spat out a stream of life flame and melted the skinny old man's corpse, obtaining an extremely pure ancestral sword crystal. However, with the divine sword crystal, the ancestral sword crystal was no longer attractive to Yi Chunfeng. He gave the ancestral sword crystal to Sword God and went to the divine sword crystal that sealed the divine sword spirit. Grand Mist Blood Merge. Yi Chunfeng bit his finger and continuously infused the divine sword crystal with the grand mist blood, nourishing the divine sword crystal. After around 3 days, the divine sword crystal had absorbed enough grand mist blood and established a connection with Yi Chunfeng. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng kept the divine sword crystal into his body. Come, let's go down and take a look. After keeping the precious divine sword crystal, Yi Chunfeng stepped on the ground that was riddled with holes and opened up a tunnel that led to the underground. He led Sword God, Demon God, and the others down and arrived at the weapon origin energy that was sealed deep underground. Origin energy milk. Seeing the weapon origin energy condensing into a pool of origin spiritual milk, Yi Chunfeng and the others were overjoyed. They quickly summoned their respective void god artifacts and sent them into the pool of origin spiritual milk to absorb the weapon origin energy and increase the power of their void god artifact. Since there's nothing going on recently, let's cultivate here for a while. Increasing the power of their void god artifacts wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. Yi Chunfeng decided to cultivate here for a while and leave after their void god artifacts finished transforming. Alright. Sword God and the others nodded. They spread out around the pond and consumed the chaos divine fruits Yi Chunfeng had given them, quickly refining them and increasing their strength. Divine Sword Essence Refine. While the Sword God and the others were cultivating, Yi Chunfeng controlled the desolation force in his body and forcibly refined the divine sword essence. He borrowed the power of the divine sword essence contained in the divine sword essence to reform his invincible sword body. Time flew, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, the void god realm seemed to be calm and tranquil, but in reality, undercurrents were surging. Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven, who had suffered a great loss in the desolate tomb, appeared in the brilliant gold temple of the Heavenly Imperial Clan to discuss the plan to force out Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God. Only by forcing out Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God would they have a chance to kill Yi Chunfeng and take everything they had. Once Yi Chunfeng and the Phoenix God had enough time to grow, it would be difficult for the Phoenix God to kill Yi Chunfeng. However, the Void God realm was too big. Finding one person was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Just as Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven were thinking hard about the plan, a figure enveloped in golden light suddenly arrived. It's you. What are you doing in my brilliant gold temple? Although the person who had arrived was enveloped in golden light, Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven's eyesight still saw through his true identity. They spoke with hostility. Why aren't you welcoming me? A deep voice came from the golden light. Don't you want to force out Yi Chunfeng? Why? You have a plan? The eyes of Supreme Divine Heavens too lit up. That's right. I have a plan. Furthermore, it's absolutely foolproof. I guarantee that Yi Chunfeng will show himself. The figure enveloped in golden light nodded. Yi Chunfeng is the pride of your human race. Are you really willing to let him die? Supreme Emperor Heaven instantly calmed down and took a sip of immortal tea. Supreme Emperor Heaven, don't try to figure out my intentions. If you don't want to listen, then I'll leave. The man with golden light said coldly. All right, speak. Supreme Divine Heaven personally poured a cup of tea for the man with golden light and flicked his finger at him. Shouldn't we talk about the conditions first? The man with golden light wasn't in a hurry and said indifferently. What conditions do you want? Supreme Divine Heaven said. Kill Yi Chunfeng. I want to pick a treasure from him first. The man with golden light said. You want the primal chaos divine wood? Supreme Divine Heaven's eyes shot out rays of light as he pondered for a moment. You don't have to worry about what I want. As long as you swear to let me pick a treasure from him first, I'll tell you the plan to lure him out. The man with golden light said. All right, this God promises you. Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven communicated with each other through voice transmission. Then swear on the heavenly Tao. After you swear, I'll tell you the plan to lure the snake out of its hole. The man with golden light said. Okay. Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven nodded and swore on the heavenly Tao. Now you should be able to speak without worry. After swearing, Supreme Divine Heaven slowly said. You only need 2 people to lure out Yi Qinfeng? The man with golden light said. Who? The Feathermoon Saintess and Yu Yi Ming. The man with golden light said. The 2 of them are related to Yi Qinfeng? Supreme Divine Heaven asked in surprise. That's right. The man with golden light nodded and said. The Feathermoon Saintess is Yi Qinfeng's woman and Yu Yi Ming is their only son. If we start with the 2 of them, I guarantee that Yi Qinfeng will take the risk and appear in public. You want us to control Feathermoon and Yu Yi to threaten Yi Qinfeng? Supreme Emperor Heaven asked. No, controlling Feathermoon and Yu Yi Ming is the worst plan. In order to protect Yi Qinfeng, the 2 of them might commit suicide. The man with golden light shook his head and said, The best way is to hit the snake where it hurts. That's Yi Qinfeng and Feathermoon's weakness. Saying that, the man with golden light told them the plan that he had already thought of. This is indeed a good plan. Supreme Divine Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven nodded and said, Yi Qinfeng definitely won't let his woman marry someone else. Feathermoon, who has nowhere else to go, might place her hopes on Yi Qinfeng. Since the 2 of you don't have any objections, I'll wait for Supreme Divine Patriarch's marriage proposal in the Ascension Palace. The man with golden light smiled and said, When the time comes, I'll spread the news through various channels and let the entire Void God realm know about this. I'm not afraid that Yi Qinfeng won't appear. After saying that, the man with golden light didn't stay for long. He turned around and left the bright gold palace, which was emitting a divine radiance. Supreme Divine, do you think this person is Yu Huashan or the human sovereign? Supreme Emperor Heaven frowned and asked in a low voice as he looked at the departing figure of the golden man. No matter who he is, it won't change anything. God is destined to be Huang Shang. Supreme Divine Heaven said without a doubt. After saying that, Supreme Divine Heaven slowly got up and left the bright gold palace. He returned to the Divine Sky Clan to prepare for the marriage alliance with the Ascension Palace. A month later, the news of the marriage alliance between the Divine Sky Clan and the Ascension Palace exploded in the Void God realm. It quickly spread to all the clans and corners of the Void God realm, becoming the topic of discussion in the Void God realm. At the same time, Yi Qinfeng, who had been refining the Divine Sword Crystal for several months, finally merged the Divine Sword Crystal and the Divine Sword Spirit into his desolate body. Following that, Yi Qinfeng's body surged with a sword aura that shocked the heavens and earth. It cut through the entire space, causing strange phenomena to constantly appear in the heavens and earth as it continuously attacked Yi Qinfeng. Facing the attacks of the strange phenomena, Yi Qinfeng, who was sitting cross-legged with his body filled with invincible sword might, seemed to be unaware of it. He continued to use the strange phenomena to condense the invincible sword body. Invincible sword body form. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Qinfeng's body erupted with shocking power, instantly shattering the strange phenomena that were attacking him. He condensed the powerful invincible sword body and recultivated the sword domain. Chapter 2075. Phew, I finally condensed the invincible sword physique. The moment he condensed the invincible sword physique, Yi Qinfeng woke up from his months of cultivation. After condensing the invincible sword physique with the help of the divine sword crystal, Yi Qinfeng felt that his body had become an invincible divine sword that could slash apart the universe with a wave of his hand. The perfect fusion of the invincible sword physique and the desolate physique formed a dual domain. The desolate domain was already invincible. Now that Yi Qinfeng had condensed the sword domain, with the power of the two domains, Yi Qinfeng could easily kill a late Void God Realm expert and fight against a perfect Void God Realm expert. Yi Qinfeng had condensed the invincible sword physique, myriad origin sword, and other Void God artifacts. After devouring a large amount of origin force, the Void God artifacts were constantly undergoing transformations, increasing their power. However, the time required for a Void God artifact to undergo transformations was too long. It wasn't something that could be done overnight. 9 underworlds devour. Yi Chunfeng could not waste all his time here. With a thought, he summoned the 9 underworlds and controlled it to release a strong devouring force. It devoured the entire space and directly devoured the weapon origin energy into the 9 underworld. Let's go, let's leave this place. After taking away the weapon origin energy, Yi Chunfeng did not stay for long. He left the deepest part of the sword tomb with Sword God, Demon God, and the rest. When they saw Xian Ziwei and the rest who had obviously improved after fighting in the sword tomb for a few months, they left together. The communication array disk. After leaving the underground sword mound that was enveloped by a powerful restriction, Yi Chunfeng suddenly realized that the communication array disk in his bosom had lit up. When he released his soul force into the communication array disk, his face instantly turned gloomy. A surge of anger burst out from his body and directly tore apart the space around him. What's wrong, Chunfeng? Feeling the anger emitted from Yi Chunfeng, Shen Daoxiu and the rest were shocked and asked. The Dragon Emperor has sent me a message. The Feather Transformation Palace wants to form a marriage alliance with the God Sky Clan, and the target of the marriage alliance is the Feather Moon Saintess and Tian Jugu. Yi Chunfeng said with a gloomy expression. His deep voice was filled with dense killing intent. Marriage alliance. Shen Daoxiu and the others already knew of the relationship between Yi Chunfeng and the Feather Moon Saintess. He said with some worry, at this critical juncture, the God Sky Clan and the Feather Moon Palace suddenly have a marriage alliance. They are clearly aiming for you. Their goal is to lure you out. I know, all of this is directed at me. Yi Chunfeng nodded, clenched his fists and said, but I can't escape. Chingfeng, how long until the marriage alliance between the Divine Sky Clan and the Ascension Palace? Shen Daoxiu and the others also understood how important the Feather Moon Saintess was to Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng definitely couldn't watch his wife be taken away by another man, so they didn't try to persuade him. There are still more than 7 months, Yi Chunfeng said in a low voice. Looks like we have to make a good plan. Otherwise, the trip to the Ascension Palace will not bode well for us. Shen Henggu, who was dressed in a long white robe, said with a serious expression. With our current strength, we can't fight against the Sky Clan. Moreover, we have to face not only the Sky Clan, but also the Demon Clan. If we want to fight against them, we have to invite experts, Shen Daoxiu said after thinking for a while. Invite experts? Who should we invite? Shen Henggu and the others fell into deep thought. Supreme God Sky, Supreme Emperor Sky, and the 9 demon gods that might appear were all almighties at the great perfection of the empty god realm. Judging from the battle strength displayed in the Chaos Tomb, Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky were both at the peak of the empty god realm. They were invincible in the void god realm. Only the Phoenix God, who was constantly refining the Chaos Divine Fire, had the strength to fight against them. I have thought of someone. If we can invite him, we might have a chance to fight against the Supreme God Clan leader and the others. Void God Jinlei, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly said after taking a deep breath. Who? Everyone's gazes shifted to Void God Jinlei. Tian Can. Void God Jinlei said, Tian Can's strength has also reached the great perfection of the empty god realm. He has a huge grudge against the Sky Clan. Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky wanted to get rid of him back then but failed. If we can invite him, we might have a chance to fight against the Supreme God Clan leader and the others. I have heard of this person. I heard that he is a rogue cultivator with terrifying strength. However, this person has a weird temper. He is both good and evil. It won't be easy to invite him. Sword God said from the side. Where is Tian Can? Yi Chunfeng thought for a while and asked. I heard that Tian Can is in the Fierce Sun Valley. However, the Fierce Sun Valley is very dangerous. It is filled with powerful seals and formations. If there is even the slightest discomfort, you might be annihilated in the tens of thousands of formations. Void God Zhenlei said. Alright, then we will go to the Fierce Sun Valley to invite Tian Can. If we really can invite him, then we will go directly to the Ascension Palace. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and revealed his overbearing side. I want to see who dares to marry my woman, Yi Chunfeng. Sigh. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's overbearing words, Xian Ziwei and Qin Rulan sighed softly in their hearts. They could not help but envy the Holy Lady of Feather Moon. They envied her for having a good husband who was willing to sacrifice everything for her. Ascension Palace, Holy Lady Hall. Mother, is it true? Are you really going to marry Tian Zhugu? Yu Yeming, who was wearing a white robe, came to the Holy Lady Hall. When he saw Yu Nikhang, who was sitting by the pond in a daze, he asked loudly. Yes, this is Yu Huashan's decision. I can't change it. Yu Nikhang came back to her senses and nodded gently. Why is that? Yu Yeming said angrily. The human tribe and the heavenly tribe are not mortal enemies. Why would Yu Huashan push you into a heated bed? Sigh, this is a conspiracy. A conspiracy against your father. I am just bait. Yu Nikhang knew a lot about Yi Chunfeng through her own spies. She also knew about this conspiracy. But she knew that she could not change anything. Even if she died, it would be useless. And Yu Huashan knew about the relationship between Yi Chunfeng and Yu Nikhang because of the mysterious Stone of Three Lives. Under the observation of the Stone of Three Lives, Yu Nikhang had no secrets at all. Father. Mother, you saw my father? Who is he? Yu Yeming asked with slight excitement. I saw him. And you saw him too. As for his identity, you will know when he comes to Ascension Palace. Yu Nikhang said faintly. She did not tell Yu Yeming about Yi Chunfeng's identity directly. I've seen it too. Yu Yeming continued to search through his memories, but he did not think about Yi Chunfeng at all. Mother, since you know that this is a conspiracy against my father, why don't we escape? We can escape from Ascension Palace and meet up with father. We can't let him take the risk. Ming'er, do you think Yu Huashan will give us a chance to escape? Yu Nikhang shook her head lightly. I think that the current Ascension Palace has already become an inescapable net. No one can leave. Then what should we do? We can't just watch as father falls into their trap. Yu Yeming said anxiously. Believe in your father. He will definitely be able to destroy this conspiracy and save us from Ascension Palace. Yu Nikhang gently hugged Yu Yeming and said faintly. And Yu Nikhang had placed all of her bets on Yi Chunfeng's parents. If Yi Chunfeng and Divine Jade Sky supported Yi Chunfeng, there was still a chance of destroying this conspiracy. In the worst-case scenario, she would die together with Yi Chunfeng. Alright, Ming'er, I want some peace and quiet. You go and cultivate. Remember, do not clash with Yu Huashan. Wait for your father to come. Yu Nikhang reminded him softly. Don't worry, mother. I know what to do. Yu Yeming nodded and left. Chapter 2076. The Fierce Sun Valley was located in the depths of the Fierce Sun Mountain Range in the south of the Void God Realm. It was one of the three most dangerous places in the Void God Realm. Even a divine-grade expert would find it difficult to adapt to the high temperature in the Fierce Sun Valley. Due to the unique geographical environment of the Fierce Sun Mountain Range and the lack of human activity, a spiritual plant called the Fierce Sunflower grew at the edge of the mountain range. It was one of the main ingredients for refining the heaven-piercing elixir. It was extremely valuable and attracted many people to take great risks and enter the Fierce Sun Mountain Range to pick the Fierce Sunflower. However, no matter how strong the experts or the powerful demonic beasts in the Fierce Sun Mountain Range were, no one dared to enter the Fierce Sun Valley. This was because there was a person living in the Fierce Sun Valley. A person that even the Supreme God Heaven and Supreme Emperor Heaven could not kill. We're here. The fierce Sun Mountain Range is right ahead. A small spiritual boat appeared outside the scorching Sun Mountain Range. Lin, who was dressed in a pink robe, with a bow on her beard and a light makeup on her face, was standing on the spiritual boat. She pointed at the scorching Sun Mountain Range in front of her, which was covered by a red cloud and mist. Lin, you're an old man. Why are you dressed like this? If it wasn't for the fact that Lin had cultivated in the scorching Sun Mountain Range for a period of time and was more familiar with the place, Yi Chunfeng wouldn't have been willing to keep Lin by his side. After all, her appearance as the ancestor of the universe was too enchanting, too charming, and too strange. It's all your fault. Hurry up and find me a new body. Every time I take a bath, it's a nightmare. Lin gritted her teeth and said angrily. So many restrictions. After entering the fierce Sun Mountain Range, Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce the location of the fierce Sun Valley. However, it was disturbed by layers of restrictions. Someone has tampered with the fierce Sun Mountain Range. When I was cultivating here, there weren't so many restrictions. Lin said slowly as she retracted her soul power. I didn't expect Tian Can to be an array master. Lin, where is the fierce Sun Valley? Yi Chunfeng asked calmly. If I remember correctly, the fierce Sun Valley should be south of the fierce Sun Mountain Range. Lin identified the direction and pointed to the south. Let's go, we'll go straight to fierce Sun Valley. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng and Lin flew towards the south of the fierce Sun Valley. The powerful restriction spells in the mountain range couldn't stop them at all. The two of them were like a hot knife through butter as they smashed through the restriction spells one after another. Soon, they entered the depths of the fierce Sun Mountain Range. Halt! The blazing Sun Mountain Range is a forbidden area in front of us. No one is allowed to enter. Yi Chunfeng and Lu Ming quickly flew for half a day before they were stopped by a powerful seal. Outside the seal were two large stone men. Sensing Yi Chunfeng and Lu Ming's approach, the two stone men awoke from their slumber and spoke in a hoarse voice. Stone Golem Race. Looking at the stone men in front of him, Yi Chunfeng immediately recognized them. They were the extremely rare stone men of the Void God realm. I'm here for Tian Can, Yi Chunfeng said with his hands behind his back, showing his intentions. Master won't see anyone. Go back. The two stone men glanced at Yi Chunfeng and Lin, shook their heads and said coldly. If I don't see Tian Can, I won't leave. Yi Chunfeng said and slowly walked towards the two stone men. Courting death. Seeing that Yi Chunfeng didn't listen to their advice and insisted on walking over, the two stone men were furious. They grabbed the two huge stone weapons beside them and slashed at Yi Chunfeng. Kacha, kacha! Carrying tens of billions of gene of stone weapons, Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge. Just as the two stone weapons were about to hit Yi Chunfeng's head, a powerful force erupted from Yi Chunfeng's body, directly shattering the two stone weapons. Get out of the way. If you continue to be impudent, don't blame me for destroying you. Yi Chunfeng stared at the two stone golem experts, who were greatly shocked, and warned them in an irrefutable tone. After he finished speaking, Yi Chunfeng took a step forward. The terrifying power directly tore open a crack in the hard ground and crashed into the canopy-like restriction in the sky, directly smashing a huge hole in the powerful restriction. What a great force! The two stone men knew how powerful the barrier was. Even a peak ancestor realm expert wouldn't be able to break it easily. However, Yi Chunfeng had only taken a step forward and shattered the barrier. This made them not dare to be impudent and quickly hid to the side. Tian Can, I'm here to pay you a visit. Please show yourself. Yi Chunfeng didn't break in after shattering the barrier with a single step. Instead, he stood outside the barrier and said in a deep voice. After about 10 breaths, a terrifying and low voice came from the barrier. If you want to see come in yourself. break through the barrier set by I and you will naturally see me. Alright, then I'll offend you. Yi Chunfeng nodded and left Zilin outside. He walked into the broken barrier alone. Rumble. Yi Chunfeng walked into the barrier and immediately activated the barrier's power. A large number of black killing patterns surged from all directions and attacked Yi Chunfeng. The black killing patterns were extremely powerful. An ordinary Ancestor Realm expert would find it difficult to resist. However, Yi Chunfeng had the desolate body. He allowed the black killing patterns to attack him without dodging. The life gate is there. Enduring the attack of the black killing patterns, Yi Chunfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to quickly deduce the location of the life gate. He quickly flew over. Rumble. As he approached the life gate, Yi Chunfeng endured even more intense attacks. The black killing patterns directly annihilated him like a tide. Void God Sword Soul / With a thought, Yi Chunfeng's Void God Sword Soul flew out of his sea of soul and slashed the black killing patterns that engulfed him. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng exerted his strength. Like a moving mountain, he broke through the broken black killing patterns and rushed out of the life gate. He arrived outside the scorching sun valley that was shrouded in layers of restrictions. This is the underworld killing formation. Looking at the surging array restrictions in the scorching sun valley, Yi Chunfeng immediately recognized that this was the legendary underworld killing formation. The God-Eater brain happened to have the method to break the underworld killing formation. In order to break the underworld killing formation, one must first find the 3 array cores of the underworld killing formation and then shatter them at the same time. Only then could the underworld killing formation be broken. Although it was difficult to break the formation, Yi Chunfeng still walked into the underworld killing formation without hesitation. Rumble. After walking into the underworld killing formation, the scene in front of Yi Chunfeng changed immediately. A huge underworld river surged over with a force of 100 billion pounds and instantly annihilated Yi Chunfeng. In the underworld river, there were a large number of long-tongued evil spirits, headless spirits, and all kinds of ferocious spirits. The mournful scene made one shudder. Invincible sword body. After being attacked by the underworld killing formation, Yi Chunfeng activated his invincible sword body. His entire body turned into an invincible divine sword and stood in the underworld river without moving. Before the ferocious spirits in the underworld killing formation could get close to his body, they were crushed by the invincible sword radiance. Even the horrifying underworld river that could instantly crush an ancestor-level expert could not get close to his body. The array core is there. Yi Chunfeng was familiar with the method to break the underworld killing formation. He controlled the God-Eater brain to quickly deduce and easily found the location of the 3 array cores of the underworld killing formation. In the next moment, tens of thousands of invincible divine swords broke out of his body and transformed into 3 sword rivers. They directly tore through the underworld river, crushed the underworld killing formation patterns, and attacked the 3 array cores. Pung pung pung. 3 shattering sounds were heard. Chapter 2077. Tian Can, may I ask if you can show yourself now? Yi Chunfeng ignored the scorching heat and walked to the deepest part of the fierce sun valley. He stood outside a stone house and spoke in a deep and resounding voice. Not bad, not bad. I didn't expect you to break I's underworld killing formation so easily. You are indeed qualified to meet me. The door of the stone house slowly opened. An old man with messy hair and a face full of wrinkles walked out. He wore a linen robe and had a deep pair of eyes that seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. Although the old man's gaze was calm and his aura was not strong, when Yi Chunfeng saw him, he felt a dangerous aura. However, this dangerous aura was not strong. Speak, why did you come to Fierce Sun Valley to find me? Tian Can looked at Yi Chunfeng's handsome face and slowly asked. I want you to come out and help me deal with Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky. Yi Chunfeng stated his intentions. Brat, are you messing with I? Or are you dreaming? Tiankin sized up Yi Chunfeng and revealed a mocking smile. He said, You want to fight against the Supreme Divine Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky with just you? I think you're crazy. I heard that Senior has a great feud with the Heaven race. If Senior is willing to come out and help me, perhaps Senior can fulfill his wish of revenge. Yi Chunfeng wasn't angry after hearing Tian Can's sarcastic words. Brat, I don't know if you have seen Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky, but I can tell you that you are too weak compared to them. They can crush you with one finger. It's useless even if I help you. Tiankin shook his head. Okay, I is in a bad mood today and doesn't want to kill you. Scram back to where you came from. I won't leave before achieving my goal. Yi Chunfeng shook his head. Brat, do you really think I won't dare to kill you? Tian Can's expression darkened as his voice turned cold. It's not that you don't dare to kill me, it's that you can't kill me. Yi Chunfeng shook his head and said, All right, stop trying to be mysterious. Let the real Tiankin come out. Interesting, I've underestimated you. The Tiankin avatar was surprised that Yi Chunfeng had exposed his secret. Since you know my secret, you can die now. With that, the Tiankin avatar exploded with the 4 great Tao wills. They merged with the prohibition that permeated the scorching Sun Valley and turned into a huge sword that was dozens of feet long. It was enough to tear apart a mountain. It swept up the sky and slashed towards Yi Chunfeng. Void God Sword Soul break! The faux God Sword Soul flew out of Yi Chunfeng's body and struck the forbidding giant sword at lightning speed. Although the virtual God Sword Soul was dozens of times smaller than the Prohibition Giant Sword, the virtual God Sword Soul managed to break the Prohibition Giant Sword and the Tiankin clone's attack. Faux God Sword Soul, you've surprised me more and more. However, it's not enough for you to see my master. The Tiankin clone's eyes dilated. He merged with the Prohibition power in the scorching Sun Valley and launched a ferocious attack at Yi Chunfeng. Alright, since that's the case, don't blame me for killing you. Although the Tiankin clone's power was close to that of a later empty god, the clone could not perform many super skills and he did not have a powerful empty god weapon. Hence, he was not much of a threat to Yi Chunfeng. He activated the invincible sword body and his body turned into an invincible sword. He broke the Tiankin clone's attack and slashed towards his body. Swoosh! The Tiankin clone reacted quickly and dodged Yi Chunfeng's attack. However, a deep sword mark was left on the hot ground. Aren't you very powerful? Why are you hiding? Yi Chunfeng smiled and cracked the hard ground with his foot. Then, he threw a punch at the Tiankin clone. Time acceleration. Sensing that Yi Chunfeng's punch had accelerated time by 50 times, the Tiankin clone placed his palms in front of his chest and blended them with a powerful force of Wei intent. Boom! The entire space shook. When Yi Chunfeng's punch landed on the Tiankin clone's palms, he instantly burned his Hongmeng blood and increased his physical strength to 30 trillion gene. The strength that was beyond the Tiankin clone's imagination broke the Wei intent that he had unleashed. The Tiankin clone was sent flying and he landed heavily on the ground. Super power kick! When the Tiankin clone smashed a big hole in the ground, Yi Chunfeng leaped up high and stepped out with an overbearing kick. As he stepped down, the space shattered. The terrifying footprint was filled with the force of billions of gene. It was as though it was going to crush a mountain. It stomped on the Tiankin clone's body, and he could not dodge it in time. The entire ground caved in. Scorching sun territory. Even though his body was injured, the Tiankin clone controlled the power of the scorching Sun Valley and blended it into his body. He activated the powerful scorching sun territory and flew into the sky. You've infuriated me. The Tiankin clone, who was in the scorching sun territory, said angrily. A large amount of flames burned around his body and burned the space. Humph, how can a territory give you so much confidence? Yi Chunfeng snorted and said, Since you don't want to come out, don't blame me for destroying you." As he spoke, Yi Chunfeng was like a mountain as he crashed into the scorching sun territory that the Tianqin clone had activated. He charged into the territory and crushed the power of the territory to attack the Tianqin clone. Scorching Sun Territory Extermination. The Tianqin clone controlled the Scorching Sun Territory, and the scorching power of the territory turned into flaming dragons. They roared and attacked Yi Chunfeng. The Tianqin doppelganger was comparable to an almighty in the late empty god realm. The power of the territory that he created was extremely strong and could easily kill an ordinary empty god realm almighty. However, Yi Chunfeng's desolation body was stronger than an ordinary empty god artifact. The flaming dragons could not injure his body at all. Yi Chunfeng was like an invincible god of war. He swung his divine fists that were made of divine metal and destroyed the flaming dragons. He suppressed the Tianqin clone. Empty God Sword Soul / After destroying the flaming dragons, Yi Chunfeng controlled the empty god Sword Soul to create many sword shadows. He attacked the Tianqin clone ferociously and kept injuring his body. Scorching Sun Territory, burn everything. The Tianqin clone had not expected Yi Chunfeng's physical body to be so terrifying. The Scorching Sun Territory could not hurt him at all. He kept increasing the power of the Scorching Sun Territory, burning Yi Chunfeng and blocking the attacks of the empty god Sword Soul. 3000 Transformation God Fist. The terrifying flaming tsunami came. Yi Chunfeng's physical body suddenly enlarged and his fist turned into a myriad of skills. 3,000 divine fists that contained billions of kilograms of strength tore the Scorching Sun Territory apart. They shattered the flaming tsunami and attacked the Tianqin clone, whose expression changed drastically. Bam! The Tianqin clone was sent flying by Yi Chunfeng's punch. He crashed into the red mountain wall a few hundred meters away and created a huge hole in the hard mountain wall. Cracks also appeared on the clone's body. Tianqin, come out. If you don't come out, your clone will be destroyed by me. After using the 3000 Transformation God Fist to send the Tianqin clone flying, Yi Chunfeng did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked at the impregnable and unaffected stone house and said domineeringly, "Junior, your combat strength has indeed surprised me. However, you really shouldn't have come here. You shouldn't have offended me." A deep voice that seemed to have come from hell could be heard in the stone house. The Tianqin clone looked very similar to the Tianqin clone. However, his skin was wrinkled and dark green. There was a thick poisonous aura around him as he walked out of the stone house. He looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was standing in midair, with a strong murderous intent. Chapter 2078. What a thick poisonous gas! Yi Chunfeng frowned when he saw Tianqin's real body walking out of the stone house. He did not expect Tianqin's body to have such a strong poisonous gas. "Junior, prepare to die." Tianqin roared and a huge saber that was 3 meters long appeared on his body. It was a heavy saber with dragon carvings on it. With one slash, the entire space was split in half. The horrifying saber intent made it difficult for Yi Chunfeng to breathe. Universal Origin Sword. Yi Chunfeng did not dare to be careless when facing Tianqin. He immediately summoned the Universal Origin Sword that had evolved from the Devourer's origin energy. He used it to block in front of him and forcefully broke Tianqin's attack. Universal Origin Sword. Why is the Universal Origin Sword in your hands? Who is Shen Henggu to you? Tianqin was surprised when he saw Yi Chunfeng summon the Universal Origin Sword. He stopped attacking and questioned coldly. "Senior knows Senior Henggu?" Yi Chunfeng asked in surprise when he saw Tianqin's expression. He had a guess about his identity. Could it be? Suddenly, Yi Chunfeng recalled the feud between Tianqin and the Sky Tribe. With a thought, he summoned Shen Daoxiu and Shen Henggu from the Universe Mirror. Dao Xiu Hengu. Seeing the sudden appearance of Shen Dao Su and Shen Hengu, Tian Can's eyes were filled with intense emotions. Yi Chenfeng was certain that Tian Can was like Shen Dao Xiu and Shen Hengu. They were all gods who had not died yet. Although Tian Can's appearance and aura were unfamiliar, Shen Daoxiu and Shen Hengu caught a sense of familiarity from his eyes. I am chasing Sun. Tian Can suppressed his excitement and transmitted his identity to Shen Daoxiu and Shen Hengu. Chasing Sun God. You are chasing Sun God. You are not dead. Back then, the gods' tribe had 8 supreme gods. The 8 supreme gods were the mainstays of the gods' tribe. Chasing Sun God was one of the 8 supreme god. Dao Su Hengu, can we trust this kid? Tian Can didn't understand Yi Chenfeng, so he transmitted his voice to ask. Chasing Sun God, Chenfeng is Yao Tian's son. He is a trustworthy person. Shen Daoxiu told Tian Can about Yi Chenfeng's identity. Yao Tian's son. Is Yao Tian still alive? Knowing Yi Chenfeng's identity, Sun-chasing God looked at Yi Chenfeng with a different expression. As the holy maiden of the divine race, Shen Yaotian had a very close relationship with the 8 great divine kings, and Sun-chasing deity was even half a teacher to Shen Yaotian. Come, follow me. Let's talk inside. Tiansan's murderous intent disappeared as he called Yi Chenfeng and the other 2 into the stone house. Tiansan's doppelganger, which had been severely injured by Yi Chenfeng, stood guard outside the stone house. Mustard dimensional space. After walking into the stone house, the scene in front of Yi Chenfeng's eyes changed greatly. He found that he had arrived at a valley with a pleasant scenery. In the deepest part of the valley, there was a pool floating with dense poisonous gas. Because the poisonous gas in the pool was too strong, there wasn't a single spirit plant within several kilometers of the pool. Is Yao Guang still alive? Yi Chenfeng and the others sat on a tree stool. Tiancan looked at Yi Chenfeng's familiar face and asked softly. My mother is about to be revived. Yi Chenfeng could vaguely guess Tiansan's identity, so he answered truthfully. Yi Wuji is indeed powerful. Your mother didn't marry the wrong person. Tiancan revealed a rare smile. Senior, who are you? Yi Chenfeng wanted to know Tiansan's true identity. My name is Chasing Sun, and I was one of the 8 great divine kings of the divine race. I was half a teacher to your mother. Tiancan told Yi Chenfeng his true identity. Half a teacher to you. After knowing Tiansan's identity, Yi Chenfeng immediately stood up and bowed deeply to Tiancan 3 times. After receiving Yi Chenfeng's 3 bows, Tiansan's smile became even wider as he asked in a low voice, Good, good, good. Child, you asked me to come out to deal with the divine race? Yes, Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky used my wife to force me to appear. I couldn't escape. Yi Chenfeng nodded and told Tiancan everything. You actually took away the fortune in the Desolation Tomb from Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky. That's not simple. Tiancan praised, however, Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky are very powerful, and the person behind them is even more terrifying. Senior, I wonder who the person behind Supreme God Sky and Supreme Emperor Sky is? Yi Chenfeng wanted to know who the person behind the divine race was. That person calls himself Shen Huang, and I have only seen him once. If he hadn't killed the Emperor God back then, the divine race wouldn't have perished. Although the Emperor God has died, the Emperor God's final attack severely injured Shen Huang. I wonder if he has recovered from his injuries after so many years? Tiancan was deep in his memories as he told Yi Chenfeng about what had happened back then and the person behind the divine race. Shen Huang. Senior, how powerful is Shen Huang? Yi Chenfeng continued to ask. The Emperor God of the God tribe is an almighty of the empty God realm. Since Shen Huang was able to kill His Majesty, his abilities must have reached the empty God realm as well. After so many years, no one knows what level his abilities have reached. Tiancan shook his head. After knowing Shen Huang's strength, Yi Chunfeng felt immense pressure. He took a deep breath and asked, Senior, if Shen Huang has recovered from his injuries, is there anyone in the Void God world who can go against him? There are many hidden talents in the Void God world. I don't know if there are still any empty gods. Tianqin thought for a while and said, however, your father obtained a great opportunity in the ruins of God. After so many years, he might have the ability to go against Shen Huang. My father? Yes, Yi Wuji is the most talented person I have ever seen. If Shen Huang wants to become a god, your father will definitely be his biggest competitor. Tianqin nodded and said, let's go. We'll go to the Yuhua Palace to steal the bride. Wait, Senior. I have a question for you. Senior, you used poison to refine your body. Are you trying to use the ancient poison skill to make up for the incomplete path that you have cultivated so that you can reach the peak of the empty god realm? As they spoke, Yi Chunfeng had been controlling the God-Eater brain to spy on Tiansan's body. He had vaguely discovered the secret of his body. That's right. I want to use poison to make up for my path. However, my injuries were too severe back then. As a result, my body is too weak. I used the ancient poison skill and cultivated for more than 100,000 years, but I still couldn't make up for it. Tianqin looked at Yi Chunfeng in surprise and nodded. Senior, if you trust me, I might have a way to make up for your path. Yi Chunfeng said after some thought. Really? Tiansan's eyes suddenly widened as he looked at Yi Chunfeng in shock. Yes. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said, Senior, look at this. What is this? With that, Yi Chunfeng took out the Chaos Divine Fruit that contained the origin energy. Chaos Divine Fruit. Tianqin had lived for many years and his eyes were sharp. He immediately recognized the Chaos Divine Fruit in Yi Chunfeng's hand. Yes. This Chaos Divine Fruit contains the origin energy of the Outerverse. If you refine it, you will have a chance to complete your path. If one Chaos Divine Fruit is not enough, I have more. I will definitely help you complete your path. You will have a chance to reach the peak of the Void God realm in your lifetime. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said, Sigh. If I hadn't cultivated the ancient poison skill, this Chaos Divine Fruit might have been able to help me complete my path. However, my body has been severely damaged by the ancient poison skill. With my current condition, I'm afraid I won't have a chance to complete my path. Tianqin sighed deeply and said regretfully, Don't worry, Senior. I will help you get rid of the poison in your body. As for your body that has been seriously corroded by the poison, I also have spiritual items to repair it. As he spoke, Yi Chunfeng summoned the strange Qiong tree that he had obtained from the desolate tomb. Qiong Qi tree. Looking at the ancient tree in front of him, Tiansan's calm heart was stirred up. He fell into a huge surprise. The Qiong Qi tree was the best body-tempering divine wood in the Void God realm. Tianqin believed that as long as he got rid of the poison in his body and refined the Qiong Qi tree, he would be able to repair his damaged body. Chapter 2079. 4 months later, a terrifying aura surged in the depths of Scorching Sun Valley and exploded the crimson clouds that shrouded Scorching Sun Valley all year round. I have finally completed my Tao. After refining the tree of Qiong Qi and the 3 Chaos Divine Fruits that contained origin energy, Sunchasur God had finally completed his Tao. The poison in his body had also been devoured by the Chaos Divine Wood. After completing his Tao, Sunchasur God's combat strength had increased by a few times. He was almost a peak empty god and could compete with Supreme Emperor Heaven. Phoenix God, who had been cultivating in the core of Universe Land, had also refined the Chaos Divine Fire successfully. She had completed a qualitative leap and was now a peak empty god. Divine Demon Candle Dragon had refined the body of the evil demon and completed a qualitative change in his divine demon body. He had continuously advanced to lower empty god. The few great empty god weapons that had been nourished by the weapon origin energy had also undergone significant changes. Their power had become even more terrifying. It's time to go to Ascension Palace. After calculating the time, there were less than 2 months before the marriage between Divine Sky Tribe and Ascension Palace. Yi Chunfeng did not waste any more time and immediately headed to Ascension Palace. At this moment, the Ascension Palace appeared to be calm. However, it had actually set up an inescapable trap, waiting for Yi Chunfeng to arrive. "How is Yu Huashan, who was wearing a long robe with cloud patterns and had a chiseled face, asked softly as he sat on a steep mountain in Ascension Palace. He was looking at the disciple who had come to report to him. The Holy Lady's emotions are normal, and she did not show any signs of resistance. On the other hand, Yu Yeming has been loitering around the mountain gate of Ascension Palace," the disciple in black reported. "It seems like Yu has high hopes for Yi Chunfeng." Yu Huashan revealed a thought-provoking smile and said, "However, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. As long as Yi Chunfeng dares to come, he will not be able to leave alive even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms." Yu Huashan waved his hand and ordered, "Go, continue to monitor Yu and Yu Yiming. If you find anything unusual, report to me immediately." As the day of the marriage alliance approached, many of the celestial race, devil race, and Ascension Palace arrived early. They stayed in Ascension Immortal City and waited for the day of the marriage alliance to head to Ascension Palace to congratulate them. While the Yuhua Immortal City was bustling with activity, a huge warship landed outside the city. The people from the Sword Domain, led by Sword God, entered the city in a majestic manner. "My Sword Domain has taken over the Floating Rain Inn. I don't want anyone to stay in there for half an incense stick's time. Those who don't leave will be killed without mercy." The Sky Sword Emperor, who had stepped into the half-step virtual god realm, stood outside the 5-story floating rain building, which was situated in a pleasant garden. It was built in an ancient style and was situated outside the floating rain building. "Motherf ****, does your Sword Domain want to become enemies with my Heavenly Devil Palace?" A 5-star Ancestor Realm Sky Devil Palace Elder walked down the wooden stairs. He was dressed in a black skull-patterned robe, had white hair, and his eyes were vigorous and powerful. He was a 5-star Ancestor Realm Sky Devil Palace Elder. Swoosh! As soon as the black-robed elder finished speaking, a sharp sword light cut through the space like a sharp sword dragon and slashed at the Sky Devil Palace Elder, whose expression changed drastically. The Sky Sword Emperor's sword was too fast. It was so fast that the Sky Devil Palace Elder could not dodge it. He could only use his trump card to defend himself. However, the sword in the Celestial Sword Emperor's hand was a supreme quality ancestral artifact. With a single strike, it destroyed all of the defensive trump cards that the Elder of the Celestial Devil Palace had used. With a single strike, it cleaved apart his body and crushed his soul, killing him. "Remember, you only have half an incense stick's time. After half an incense stick's time, I'll bathe this place in blood," the Sky Sword Emperor said domineeringly after killing the 5-star Ancestor Realm Sky Devil Palace Elder with a single sword. After witnessing the Sky Sword Emperor's strength, the furious Sky Devil Palace experts did not dare to say anything. In the end, they left the Floating Rain Inn in humiliation. "Young Master Yi, when are we going to Ascension Palace?" After chasing away the Sky Devil Palace people who had occupied the Floating Rain Inn, the Sword God came to the wing room on the top floor of the Floating Rain Inn and asked softly as he looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was looking into the distance. "Let's wait for a few more days. It's not the time yet." Yi Chunfeng looked away and shook his head. Although he knew what it meant to step into Ascension Palace, he knew that he could not avoid it. He could only face it bravely. The next morning, the Sky Devil Palace experts who had been chased away by the Sky Sword Emperor came to the Floating Rain Inn aggressively. Following them were 2 half-step virtual god realm elders from the demon clan. Who was so bold to kill the great elder of the Sky Devil Palace yesterday? A skinny demon clan elder with long dark green hair, sunken eyes, and demonic aura around him stood in the hall of the Floating Rain Inn and questioned sternly. I'll give you 3 breaths time to get lost. If you don't leave, leave your lives behind. The sword god's domineering voice rang in the Floating Rain Inn as he gave an order that was not to be defied. How arrogant! Today I will. Before the half-step virtual god realm elder could finish his sentence, an unparalleled sword glow descended from the sky and slashed his body, killing him instantly. Gulp! Witnessing the half-step virtual god realm elder being killed instantly, the Sky Devil Palace experts were scared out of their wit. They ran out of the Floating Rain Inn as fast as they could. Swoosh! Just as the remaining half-step virtual god realm elder from the demon clan was stunned, 3 breaths time passed. Another sharp sword glow descended and crushed his soul, killing him instantly. Palace Master, do we still want to take revenge? Witnessing the 2 half-step virtual god realm elders being killed instantly, the Sky Devil Palace experts were scared out of their wit. They looked at the pale-faced Sky Devil Palace Master. Damn it, do you want to die? Even half-step virtual gods were killed instantly. How are we going to take revenge? However, since the Sword Domain people dared to kill the Demon Clan elders, I don't think the demons will let this go easily. After saying that, the Sky Devil Palace people fled in panic. Because the Sword Domain's performance was too strong and the demons did not want to start a conflict so early to avoid unnecessary trouble, the Demon Clan did not seek revenge even after the Sword God killed 2 Demon Clan elders consecutively. Just like that, another 5 days passed. During these 5 days, many Void God realm forces came to the Yuhua Immortal City. At this time, there were still 4 days before the marriage between the Divine Sky Clan and the Yuhua Palace. Suddenly, Yi Chunfeng, who had been waiting in the side room, noticed that the communication array disc in his arms lit up. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a hint of sharpness. It's time to go to the Yuhua Palace. Yi Chunfeng muttered to himself as he put the communication array disc in his arms and looked at the rising red sun outside the window. Sword God, let's go to the Yuhua Palace. Yi Chunfeng walked out of the side room and led the Sword God, the Sky Sword Sovereign, the Mystic Sword Sovereign, and the other Sword Domain experts out of the Floating Rain building in a grandiose manner. They walked towards the Yuhua Palace that was located at the back mountain of the Yuhua Immortal City. The Sword Domain people suddenly heading to the Yuhua Palace immediately alarmed the various major forces in the Yuhua Immortal City, causing them to be rather surprised. They all guessed the Sword Domain's purpose for heading to the Yuhua Palace in advance. Because Yi Chunfeng had cultivated the illusion Dao intent to an extremely high level, coupled with the Mirage blood, no one noticed that Yi Chunfeng had appeared among the Sword Domain people. About 2 hours later, Yi Chunfeng and the rest arrived at the mountain gate of the Yuhua Palace that was carved from supreme-grade Saint crystals. Chapter 2080. Yi Ming. Yi Chunfeng looked at Yu Yeming, who was dressed in a long white robe and had a tall and straight figure, walking around the Ascension Palace's mountain gate. The corners of Yi Chunfeng's mouth unconsciously curled up. Yi Chunfeng was most worried about 2 people on this trip to Ascension Palace. One was his wife, Yu Nikhang, and the other was his son with Yu Nikhang, Yu Yiming. You are, hearing a familiar voice, Yu Yeming turned to look at the voice. At this moment, the illusions on Yi Chunfeng disappeared, allowing Yu Yiming to see his appearance clearly. Brother Yi. Yu Yiming was startled and revealed a trace of surprise. Without thinking too much, he immediately walked over and said, Are you also here to participate in the wedding ceremony? No. Yi Chunfeng couldn't help but smile when he saw Yu Yiming. He gently shook his head. I'm here to propose marriage. Propose marriage? Who do you fancy? Yu Yiming was even more surprised. He was surprised that Yi Chunfeng would propose marriage at this juncture. The Saintess of Feather Moon. Yi Chunfeng smiled and said warmly. Who? Yu Yiming suddenly raised his voice and his expression changed. Brother Yi, I treat you as a brother, but you want to marry my mother, Yi Chunfeng. Yiming, can't you guess who I am? Yi Chunfeng frowned and said somewhat speechlessly, Didn't your mother tell you who I am? You. Yi Chunfeng's words made him think of Yu Nichong's words. An unbelievable thought appeared in Yu Yiming's mind. His eyes widened and he couldn't help but stutter. You can't be my father, right? What do you think? If I'm not your father, why would I propose marriage to your mother at this time? Yi Chunfeng said with a smile. How can you be my father? Yu Yiming said in a bit of a mess. You're not brother Yi. However, he didn't dare to say the last words out loud. Through various signs, it was very likely that Yi Chunfeng was his father. Let's go, we'll enter the mountain. Even if I have to pierce through the sky, I will bring your mother away safely. Seeing that Yu Yiming was still unable to accept the truth, Yi Chunfeng revealed his domineering side and spoke in a domineering tone. Wait. You can't go. Right now, the Ascension Palace has set up an inescapable net, waiting for you to fall into it. Once you step into the Ascension Palace, you won't be able to come out alive. Yu Yiming grabbed Yi Chunfeng's arm and said, Don't worry, this time I will definitely destroy the Ascension Palace and make the Tian clan and the Demon clan pay the price. Let's go. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng and his group slowly walked towards the heavily guarded Yuhua Palace. Yi, do you have an invitation? If you don't, no one is allowed to enter. Seeing Yi Chunfeng and his group walking over, the 6 disciples guarding the mountain gate of the Ascension Palace immediately stopped them and questioned them in an unfriendly tone. Kill anyone who dares to stop my master. Before Yi Chunfeng could say anything, the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystic Sword Sovereign emitted a soaring sword intent that stirred up the void. A terrifying aura locked onto the 6 disciples, causing their legs to tremble. They were so frightened that they almost fell to the ground. Scram! As the Sky Sword Sovereign roared, the 6 disciples who were frightened by the soaring sword intent spat out a mouthful of blood and were sent flying. Yi Chunfeng didn't stop. He stepped onto the Ascension Palace's jade staircase and walked towards the Ascension Palace at the peak of the mountain. Father, when did you become the master of the Sword region? Yu Yiming, who had been following behind Yi Chunfeng and slowly accepted the fact, asked in shock. One had to know that to become the master of a region, other than having overwhelming strength, one also needed to have shocking method. Furthermore, when he first met Yi Chunfeng wasn't very strong. I'll tell you about what happened a while ago when our family reunites. Yi Chunfeng smiled. How dare you? Who are you? Why did you injure my disciples and trespass into the Ascension Palace? When Yi Chunfeng's group was walking towards the Ascension Palace at an extremely fast speed, a furious roar resounded. 4 white-haired old men in cloud-patterned robes with soaring auras and holding ancestral weapons led over 20 Ascension Palace disciples to intercept Yi Chunfeng's group. This is the master of the Sword region. He is here to propose marriage to the Feather Moon Saintess. The Sky Sword Sovereign stepped forward and exuded a terrifying sword intent as he spoke in a domineering manner. I think you're here to cause trouble. After knowing the purpose of Yi Chunfeng's group's arrival, the 4 5-star Ancestor Realm Elders of the Ascension Palace were instantly enraged. For mysterious formation discs appeared from their bodies and merged into the void, forming an extremely mysterious killing formation. Be careful. That's the 1,000-feather killing formation. It's extremely powerful and can threaten a half-step virtual god. Yu Yiming immediately informed Yi Chunfeng of the formation through voice transmission as he looked at the huge formation diagram that was flowing with dense formation runes in the void. How dare you stop my master with such a small formation? The Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign snorted coldly. 2 supreme-grade ancestral swords broke out of their bodies and circled above their heads, releasing ear-piercing sword chimes. After refining the chaos divine fruit that Yi Chunfeng had given them, the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign's comprehension of the region had surpassed an ordinary half-step virtual god. As they majored in sword principle, their combat strength was even stronger. In addition to the two supreme-grade ancestral weapons, the two of them could fight an ordinary low-level virtual god together. 10,000 sword slash. The Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign attacked at the same time. Their rapidly deduced Tao will merged into the two supreme-grade ancestral swords. Instantly, 10,000 swords appeared and covered the entire void. They attacked the thousand-feather killing formation and clashed fiercely with the light feathers that the thousand-feather killing formation had created. Although the thousand-feather killing formation was powerful, it couldn't stop the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign's attack. In a series of dense, shattering noises, the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign attacked again. Using their bodies to control their swords, they slashed out two shocking swords that could split mountains and rivers. Like a reverse waterfall, they slashed the thousand-feather killing formation. The four elders of Ascension Palace were horrified when the thousand-feather killing formation was broken. They immediately attacked together with the other disciples, controlling their strongest holy weapons and ancestral weapons to attack the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign. However, their abilities were far inferior to the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign. As the Sky Sword Sovereign and the Mystery Sword Sovereign attacked at the same time, the sword gleams instantly tore through the attacks of the Ascension Palace experts and sent them flying. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. Covered in blood and severely injured, the four elders of Ascension Palace spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time and were sent flying. They crashed into ancient trees and couldn't get up again. Since you're humans, I'll spare your lives. I hope you won't provoke me again. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy. Yi Chunfeng said coldly as he glanced coldly at the four elders who were severely injured and the disciples of Ascension Palace who were deeply shocked and retreating. With that, Yi Chunfeng and the others continued to climb the mountain. This time, no one dared to stop Yi Chunfeng and his group. However, the news of Sword Domain barging into Ascension Palace instantly spread throughout Ascension Palace. It alarmed Ascension Palace's Yu Huashan, who was making plans in Ascension Palace, as well as the Celestial Race and Devil Race's almighty experts who were hiding near Ascension Palace. Very soon, Yi Chunfeng and the others arrived at the peak of the mountain. They arrived outside the Ascension Palace that was built in a simple and magnificent style.